Hello, chat. It's the day you've all been waiting for. The day we do government and security news. Nothing else is happening today.
And what an apropos day for government news. But let's not pretend that our problems in the government start today. No, nor will they end today, no matter how it goes. Let's keep that in mind as well. It's been going on for a long time because there's some terrible, terrible people in the government. And they do some terrible things, and they tell us that they need more power. And yet, they abuse the power that they have. And when they're asked, are you abusing this power? The response is silence.
I love this article from Reuters. A spy agency ducks questions about backdoors in tech products. And the article author here has done a good job calling out the things that we always call out when we bring these things up. They mentioned Juniper specifically and like the Juniper hacks. And Juniper said, hey, that's weird. Some government agency asked us to change some stuff in our routers, and that led to a lot of hacks because some third-party government, some other government figured out what we did, and they used that to exploit things. This article doesn't mention it, but it was the OPM hack, the Office of Personnel Management government hack. They got the list of all government employees, which would be a bad thing for a foreign government to have, don't you think? Because don't you think the spies are on the payroll and the lowly contractors and just literally everybody from top to bottom?
Kind of echoes the whole Huawei thing, doesn't it?
That's not good. And so Ron Wyden asked the NSA, hey, you guys doing this still? And they're like, So yes, they absolutely are. And you'd think that lessons would be learned. And they said in the article, we learned some lessons. And Ron Wyden said, great, what were those lessons? And then they said, document not found.
How not to get caught next time. Although I'm sure it's a matter of time.
But how crazy is it that, the NSA literally said, we can't find that document because they found a reference to the document that is obviously a lie.
And they have all of our documents.
They're lying to a senator. How insane is that?
Not at all. Because they pretty much don't have any respect for the lawmakers or the populace or rule of law or the Constitution. They're kind of just cowboying it out there. And they have been for a long time. And another group of people who are kind of cowboying it when it comes to our privacy and our rights are the big tech companies by tracking us, tracking everything that we do.
We're tracking you to ensure your privacy.
And often...
war is peace.
Our savior does not look like what we think it's going to look like. In fact, it might take the form of another devil.
iOS 14's upcoming anti-tracking prompt sparks antitrust complaint in France. So, wait, you're thinking, how could France possibly complain about this? And it's like, well, Apple is still tracking you. You just can't, you can't necessarily do, this is an opt-in kind of a deal. And you can't necessarily know the details about this other than an application will pop up and actually track you. But Apple's always tracking you.
Now, Apple claims that it doesn't count because they're not ever selling the data. They're only using it internally. But they're so monolithic and powerful, they still get a lot of value out of that. So France is saying, well, France and a consortium of all the other tech companies are saying, wait a minute, that's not fair. So, is it better to be spied on by just one powerful entity than all? I mean, I guess so, right?
I don't know.
Not ideal, but...
I don't know.
Well, Apple is not this flawless entity. They are also involved in some very ugly things. And as is often the case with these big tech companies, they are writing some laws. Not themselves, but the lobbyists that they hire, which might as well be Tim Cook, right? I'm sure he sees some drafts before they go out. And in some cases, it gets very dark. Now, we should have pointed out, we're not sure which way they went on this one. I'm sure, personally.
I'm not sure.
I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, why? What possible reason could they have to go to the other way?
Apple lobbied U.S. Congress on Uighur slave labor bills. And so if you're completely under a rock, what's happening here is China seems to have targeted a specific, like, economic, socioeconomic, ethnic group, the Uighur Muslims, and has basically put them in concentration camps.
Well, China did that, and Apple came along, I think, and they're like, hey, we could use those.
Well, China's suppliers are probably using forced labor. And a lot of companies are using forced labor. And so Congress said, hey, we should ban for American import, prevent American import of any products that were built with slave labor. I mean, who would have a complaint with that?
I'm
Well,
sure you can find somebody.
It turns out there are a lot of tech companies that have a complaint with that, because there are a lot of tech companies that somewhere in their supply chain slave labor is used. So Apple lobbied heavily here. It could have been that they lobbied, we're not going to be able to import iPhones if you implement this.
Right.
That's possible. It could be that they have said, we are not in a position to, or we're so powerful that this is not a problem for us, but it would be a problem for our competition. Everybody knows those, dirty, filthy Android phones are built with slave labor. And so as a competitive thing, we should support this. But which way it was actually lobbied, no one knows. Like, if you search for this and try to figure that out, that's not a thing. And that seems like that should be an investigative journalism thing.
I think they went through their supplier list and they're like, ooh.
Yeah, there's a lot of ooh in Amazon, in Apple's supplier list, which is crazy, because they've chosen to make the fight about the whole, like, save the trees, the environment is good. And it's like, guys, you're the people that are suing the recycling company in Canada for making some of your old devices usable instead of shredding them into aluminum confetti.
Well, listen, Hubbard still had all those people convinced that they were on the right track when he was taking all their money and using them for slave labor. That's how it works. The cult of the Apple, that you got to keep the veneer up, or else it all comes crumbling down, because there's no value there.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll leak out at some point which way they went. But either way, I don't think that they have the best interest of the poor Uyghurs in mind.
Which is very sad, because, like, in terms of, like, problems the world could solve, that one seems like a very small one.
Yeah, but I don't think it's easy to solve.
Well, it's easy to solve in one way, but then it's like, then the companies wouldn't get as many profits, and that's not acceptable.
Well, I don't think, if you put it into this, it doesn't solve the plight of the Uyghurs.
Oh, no.
They just, get more free time in the concentration camps. Or their kidneys get harvested earlier.
Can't make as many iPhones with only one kidney.
It's gonna get darker no matter where we go. And if we go to war with China, they probably just gas them all, right? I mean, let's be serious.
What happened before, but...
Onto a more lighthearted note. Everybody loves it when the government websites get hacked, right? I mean, probably a lot of people are pissed off about this, but it's because of the thing that's happening today.
Trump's campaign website hacked by cryptocurrency scammers. DonaldJTrump.com, and the other one, was it? I can't remember the other one. There were two. They were hacked. This thing was inserted. It's sort of a fake. This site was seized. It wasn't actually seized. It was a cryptocurrency scam.
But brilliant the way they did it. Now, it was only up for about 5 minutes. The DonaldJTrump.com team was on the ball, although they might not be on the ball when it comes to security. But they gave you 2 Monero addresses, and it was like, okay, we have all this secret information that has to do with Trump. If you would like us to leak it, donate to Monero A. If you would like us to keep it a secret, donate to Monero B. Whichever gets more, that's the way that we'll go.
Which way did it go?
Sides.
I was only up for 5 minutes. I don't know if they got anybody. And they didn't actually have the leak. It was all fake. So.
Oh, there's so much fake news. Why does this keep happening?
I love they also gave you a PGP key.
Yeah.
But it was fake too.
Mm.
Smart hackers. They're learning. This is nothing, but it's just kind of like, this is kind of like a victory lap, I guess. It's
spitting in our faces.
Yeah, basically one last time. I'd say it's more like piss.
Reuters reports that the U.S. FCC has voted to maintain its 2017 repeal of net neutrality rules. This is after a judge had ruled that maybe they should review things, and the whole public commentary thing they didn't do. Yeah, the vote was 3-2, as it always is.
Pi, basically his comment was just dunking on everybody, and as usual, Rosenworcel was like, "This is a travesty, but this is what we are now."
Yeah. He also said, he's like, oh, look, consumers haven't been harmed. And it's like, I think that's not actually true. There are a couple of companies that have created things where their TV service doesn't count against your data cap, but Netflix does. That is anti-competitive. That is the definition of anti-competitive.
This points out the stupidity of, the outrage politics. And the left is really bad at this. And this, I think this is why Trump got elected. They predicted apocalypse. Same thing with climate change. Al Gore, go back to Al Gore. You can't predict the apocalypse and not have it happen. You immediately lose all of your, anything that anybody's ever going to believe you for goes out the window. And it's basically what Pi was saying. It was like, oh, look, the internet's still around. It's not a pile of flames. And he's right, but
it has gotten worse.
Yeah.
Is it still around, though, for those of us in rural areas? Because I'd say no.
Well, it was never there, Chris. You didn't lose anything because it was never there to begin with. You may have, maybe the potential internet suffered.
How many customers that have, like, say, the AT&T television thing and Netflix, and now they understand, like, that they're getting a warning from AT&T saying they're using too much data, and that they should switch to AT&T TV? Like, how many of them would actually make the connection? It's a lot. It's like a blender. It's like, oh, we don't have to have a safety devices on a blender anymore, and it's like, severed hands up 700%. It's just nobody makes the connection.
They're probably angry at Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think it's something on Netflix's end.
Well, remember that was exactly what was happening, which kicked off this whole kerfuffle. Is like, if you were on YouTube and Netflix, it got so bad that you would literally get the pop-up. Remember when Google added the pop-up? It's like, why is this buffering? And you click on it and be like, because your ISP is basically blackmailing us. They're holding you hostage.
You're talking about YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Well, Netflix did it too.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, you got the pop-up that's like, why is this buffering?
We'll see. One thing about it, we probably won't know today, but I would say maybe by the end of the week we'll know if Mr. Pi still has a job. He always has a job with Verizon. Don't worry about him.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to that Level 1 news where it's like, oh, and Ajit Pai is moving into the penthouse of some high rise in some city somewhere, working for Darth Vader directly.
Well, Customs and Border Protection is probably another group that is on the edge of their seats for tonight's festivities, because depending on which way that goes, probably going to affect their funding in the coming future. And this is maybe a rough headline to get right before that, because it's not a good one.
Customs and Border Patrol refuses to tell Congress how it's tracking Americans without a warrant. Again, Ron Wyden is like saying, hey, how is it that Customs and Border Patrol can know where people are? And it turns out Customs and Border Patrol are buying people's location data. That's something you can buy. They spent over $500,000 on that data last year, I think, according to this article. And so Ron Wyden's like, what legal theory makes you think you can sidestep the 14th Amendment by just buying access to this data? Meanwhile, a lot of other government agencies, took a collective deep breath, like, wait, what? That's not okay? Or that might not be okay? Why is he getting all twisted about this? But then they asserted, outrageously, that its legal analysis is privileged and therefore does not have to be shared with Congress. So Ron Wyden disagrees with that. Whether or not this matters literally depends on the outcome of the election today.
A second stream of urine right in the face of Ron Wyden, the second time this week. It really shows you the contempt a lot of these government agencies have for the elected officials.
Or just, being honest and transparent with the American citizenry. It's like, I like to imagine that, like, in, like, I don't know, East Germany or something, that it's like when stuff was happening, it was like, no, this is the bribe. This is how you have to do it. You have to bribe it. And it's like, okay, that sounds good. But here you don't know. You don't know what's going on. And that's more terrifying than what's actually going on.
But the root of the problem probably isn't Customs and Border Protection. The root of the problem is that all of this is so widely available for so cheap.
Yeah.
And maybe do something about that.
Yeah.
Maybe selling data has to become, a little bit more of a regulated thing. I hate to say that, but it really is out of control. And I think the worst part about selling data is that you have no idea when you're the product.
Do you find that, being... And I'm going to assume that you're, a technology enthusiast, but it's a little, the juxtaposition of being a technology enthusiast, and it's like, I can't download the latest apps and games and crap and play around with my phone because I don't know who's selling that data.
And
I don't want to be tracked.
not only do you not know, but you know damn sure 1 out of 4 at least
Yeah.
is going to screw you.
Yeah. And so it's just like, I literally can't trust software because everything is out to get me. And that sounds like paranoia, but no, that's actually how it is.
And not only that, but you find a nice VPN that you trust, or you find an app that you're like, okay, I follow this developer on Twitter and I know, and then they're like, oh, an offer? We'll take that. And then all of a sudden you can't trust it.
It's going to send me into existential depression if I find out Pixel Dungeon's got some kind of tracker in it.
Well, they open sourced it. There's like 1 billion versions of Pixel Dungeon. I would say 500 million of them have trackers.
Yeah, that's probably true.
The other big, that dog's getting rowdy back there, Krista.
She's wandering around sniffing stuff, and then a second ago she was trying to like nudge a lamp off the table.
She's attacked the pillow.
Don't lick the pillow, Rue. That's gross. What are you eating? Wait,
The pillow. Narrator, the pillow.
She like licked some lint off it and then was like, lay down. Are you gonna lay down?
We need to add a full screen Rue trigger for when she gets rowdy, because we can barely see her.
Yeah. Oh, she's laying down now. She just didn't want this pillow in her way. Okay. Good dog. Lay down. Tuck you in. All right, she's good now. She's comfortable, and that's what matters in this program.
Well, in that same vein, an excellent lead into our next story is like, what happens when the access to the data is just so cheap and easy? You can't help yourself.
Yeah, this is the old argument of if they can, they will. That's the thing about government. It's like, oh, we don't need explicit rules to stop them from abusing this. No, we always do.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that is the founding of this country. That's the guiding principle that we should all live by, but we've forgotten it.
Police are using facial recognition systems for minor crimes because they can. For example, a $12 shoplifting thing. Yes, let's deploy the facial recognition.
The numbers are staggering. They were like, oh, we just use this for like murder cases and terrorism and stuff like that. We're like, well, how many times have you used it? Was it like 24,000?
29,000.
29,000 in one city.
Yeah. Or 22,000.
And like you say, shoplifting stuff, traffic related stuff.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, because if you're a cop and it's there, it's so easy. You're going to get your clearance rate way up if you just use this. But they also point out the Detroit stuff. The Detroit thing was what, like 98% inaccurate?
Yeah.
And it's led to several false arrests.
Yes.
And they're still going to use it.
I guarantee you, if we sent a postcard to the NYPD that was like, hey, for $800 a year, you can have access to our geolocation database where we've got like all the phones that have any one of the top 20 applications installed from the worldwide app stores, that they would be like, $800 a year, that sounds great, let's just go ahead and sign up for that. And then they would just be like, do you have any phones that were in this location at this time? It's like, yep, here you go. And there's not like, it's a no-brainer. Of course they would do that, because it's easier than doing whatever else that they do for actual police work.
Well, they are doing that. It's that Ventel company.
Yeah. That's what Customs and Border Protection is doing.
We're all doing it.
The other law enforcement agencies that aren't doing it yet just don't know.
Or they don't have the extra budget to pay for it yet.
It's getting cheap, though.
Yeah, it is.
One of the silver linings of today is that officially today, for a little while at least, all the political campaigning is over.
Woohoo!
And yet here you are watching the Level 1 news, and it's just like,
I'm missing out on all that sweet compost material. I'm not going to get any mail.
Are the inks and dyes and stuff good for the compost?
Some of the thing is, like, these people are paying for top dollar, like, quality material. So like some of it, when it's really glossy, I can't compost.
Wow.
And that really sucks.
That's sad.
It has to go in the recycling bin.
Does that influence your vote?
It does. I'm like, no, you guys have to do the cheaper stuff. I can't compost it.
here's the candidate that I can't agree with, but there's a tree seed embedded in this sheet of paper. I can just bury this sheet of paper in my yard and have a lovely tree.
And then you grow it, and it's one of those Chinese
like the invasive
seeds.
species.
Yeah.
Well, the political campaigns are known for spending a lot of money, and it happens so fast, and they're going so hard that they often don't keep track of where it's all going. I mean, they pay ridiculous amounts for all the little tchotchkes they give away and the entertainment and the buildings, and somebody's doing the bookkeeping. But if you're a smart hacker, and these hackers were brilliant, you can take a little taste for yourself.
Wisconsin Republican Party says that hackers stole $2.3 million over a relatively short period of time, very surreptitiously.
So what they did is they got into the system, they fished their way in, and they found the invoice system. But rather than create new invoices, which would probably raise a flag, they went into the services rendered invoice folder, which were unpaid, and just changed the payment details to themselves. So these were companies that made like the MAGA hats and stuff like that. And these rallies had already happened. They just, because the government pays real slow. They haven't paid yet. So when payment time
this
came
isn't
around,
even really the government, and it still pays real slow.
Yeah, and when the payment time came around, $2.3 million to these guys.
Takes years to get paid in some cases.
Rue didn't like that one.
Rue didn't like that. She saw the neighbor's dog outside.
You can get Rue a little like MAGA vest to wear.
No. You gotta have no political signage outside your house because you don't want your house to be the first one to go up in the burnings.
Yeah, someone might try to hit her with a car. That'd be sad.
Yeah.
Well, maybe to stir up some support for themselves, because they're not getting much from the people at this point, as much as they abuse them. The FBI and Homeland Security have issued a scary warning.
The FBI and DHS warn hospitals of a credible threat from hackers. This is legit. It's Ryuk and what was the other one? The criminal gangs are saying, "Oh my gosh, hospitals were ransomware. Like, we shouldn't do that." But then other criminal gangs are like, "Yes, we absolutely should do that."
But they see the record of these hospitals pay.
Yeah,
because they have to. Because are you gonna let people die? Which is sad.
Depends on who runs the hospital. Humana, Anthem, yeah, those people are going to die. They don't care.
So,
or if you're a small rural hospital and you can't afford to pay them,
watch out for that.
Most of those were bought by private equity and have been systematically dismantled.
They're part of a health group that operates the entire state. Now, there was the story about the one hospital that was in Europe somewhere, wasn't it? Where they shut it down. I think it was Germany, and they had to reroute a patient to go to another hospital because everything was locked up, and she died on the way there.
Yeah.
So ransomware has killed somebody at this point.
At least one.
In that case, I think the ransomware gang... No. There was one case where the ransomware gang was like... They were told that they had encrypted a hospital, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, here's your keys."
It was a university hospital. They thought they had the university. But she was already dead.
Yeah.
And it became a murder case. Although I don't like their chances of tracking them down.
Yeah.
Because they never paid them. Maybe they're losing a little sleep. Let's hope for that. And I couldn't decide whether or not this should go into government, but I think it matters in government because it's a question of, in the future, in humanity's horizon, what does government look like? And this might be the most terrifying form that you could possibly have. This harkens back to like the child emperors in my mind. Because let's remember that this is a man. Did you see his tweet the other day? He said that Jack in the Box should be a sperm bank.
Yeah.
Because, get it? Jack in the Box.
Like, I mean, listen, I don't love this guy either, but like, that's the most minor thing he's tweeted. If he just wants to tweet stupid stuff like that all day, let him.
I think after the last Tesla earnings, he's like the 4th or 5th richest in the world, right?
I would take Supreme Chancellor Musk over Supreme Chancellor Bezos any day.
I disagree completely. Bezos would be a harsh ruler.
Yes.
But he would be all about capitalism. And I can get behind that. Yeah.
Musk would be just like an angsty teenager. Like
Musk would change the laws every day.
Yeah.
And if you spoke out against him, he'd have you killed.
I think that's true of either one of them.
Yeah, I think Bezos would do that too.
Elon Musk's SpaceX will make its own laws on Mars. No Earth-based government has authority or sovereignty over Martian activities, SpaceX claims. This is actually in the terms of service. So some of the people that were signing up for the SpaceX beta, you know, the terrestrial internet offered by its satellite access, in the terms of service, somebody was looking at it and it was like, wait a minute, it's saying here that I agree that these things don't apply to Mars and that, you know, no Earth-based government has authority over Martian or lunar activities. It included the moon as well.
I I seem to recall, and I might be misremembering this, or it might be something from like a sci-fi movie that I just filed away as a true fact. I thought like everything in space, like you couldn't put claims of things in space for different nations.
Yeah, there's this international treaty that's a thing, but it's a little bit out the window because I think the U.S. government has started to allow claims to be staked on the moon.
Yeah, so it's an international treaty, but now that the moon is actually in play, they've already announced that it's kind of like, it's sort of like a homestead type of thing. If you improve it and you're like making money from it, you can have it. But I got news for Mr. Musk. If civilian ships don't have weapons and government ships do, guess who's in charge? So across the pond, I'm having trouble reading this. Oh, right, yeah. Amazon. Amazon, of course, has this special thing on their store to prevent privacy, which means that...
Piracy.
No, yeah. Did I say privacy?
Yeah.
It's actually counterfeiting. Both were wrong.
So brand piracy, that would apply.
Apple, for example. Apple is the best example. If I have...
the evilest example.
If I order a pallet of iPads, and I'm like, yes, I will sell these iPads for a profit on Amazon. No, I won't. Because of this.
Amazon, I can't read the headline.
Apple probed by Germany.
Apple has been probed by Germany over online sales curves. Basically, if you want to sell on Amazon and the brand, like Apple or Gucci or Hugo Boss or any of those name brands, takes issue with you selling their brand of products, even if they're legit, that's not okay. And I got to side with Germany on this because that makes sense. Like, if you are a shop owner and you have products to sell and you're not being dishonest about it, it's like, hey, I've refurbished a bunch of iPads, I'm selling iPads, or hey, I've got a bunch of Gucci merchandise that is actually real and not fake or counterfeit in any way, then you should be able to sell it.
But no. Apple has the authorized seller program. If you're part of that, then you can. But you're going to give Apple some, pay them. Was it a license or a cut?
For the old Mac refurb program, it was a cut. But I don't know if that's still in play.
If you're not part of that, you will be removed. And so Germany says, that's not fair. And it doesn't sound fair.
Not to pick on Apple, but Microsoft was also in on this. Microsoft did it with the whole used computer software license thing. Remember that? Whereas, like, this computer has a Windows license, and Microsoft was like, not so fast there. That license belongs to the previous computer's owner. That doesn't transfer with the computer. And it's like, but this sticker, and Microsoft's like, we'll sell you a really inexpensive license to bring you current. It was basically a racket. It was basically a scam.
A lot of companies are doing it. Yeah, we are picking on Apple, and it's not all tech companies either.
Yeah.
Still, not great. And that's a really good idea, maybe, that Germany just came up with. But it balanced it out by coming up with a really bad one. And it's not only bad, it's failed spectacularly in Australia and the UK already. I mean, they passed the laws. They were like, yes, let's do this. And then they looked at it and they were like, oh.
Well, there's no way to implement this.
This is literally impossible. And Germany says, oh, let us take a swing at it.
German regulators are trying to block porn sites to thwart horny teens. So what happens is that German regulators apparently have some teenage children and they don't want to have difficult conversations with them.
So, what do? Well, it's the same old routine. Somehow you verify age. How do you do that? Well, nobody's sure yet. But the onus is going to be put on the sites. So Pornhub is the one that they use, for example. I guess they don't age check.
Yeah, they do a DNS block, but you can still get there by IP.
So if you're Pornhub, how do you make sure? Well, Germany says we don't care. Just figure it out or we shut you down. But like you say, DNS, and even if you just don't use your ISP's DNS, if you use Cloudflare, for example, this isn't going to work.
Nice.
It's stupid. So they're spending your taxpayer money on this.
Yeah, that part is really infuriating. Taxpayer money in Germany, it's a giant waste.
Also, how about this background in this picture?
Yeah, I was noticing that. It's like I don't know what some of those things are.
I kind of like it from a branding standpoint. I was like, it's colorful, it's fun. It immediately communicates what it's about.
Well, so we got one of them's a riding crop, one's a paddle. One is beads. I won't say what kind of beads. You got a Hitachi there. I don't know about this.
That's a tail.
Oh yeah, a plug. Now what about this?
I don't know.
This is a piercing, right?
Is it? Yeah, I guess so.
Engagement challenge. What is this?
I don't know what that is.
I'm sure we'll be surprised. Somebody knows, though. Don't worry. Someone
will
knows.
tell us.
Another little bit of good news out of the EU, and we need this here.
Yes.
Immediately.
Mobile networks banned from selling locked phones. Well, you buy a phone for a lot of money, and then it's owned by the carrier. Not really, but it won't let it work on anything else. Like, I want to switch carriers. Nope, you're locked in.
So these companies will be the ones who are affected. Some of the other ones already don't do this, but if you are part of these guys, good news. However, it doesn't go into effect for a while. December 2021. So you have to suffer another year.
I was helping a family member with an iPhone 6.
Wow.
iPhone 6. It's paid for. It has long since been paid for. And it is still carrier locked. And you're supposed to be able to, by law here in the US, call and have the phone unlocked. So I called the carrier and I was like, here's the IMEI number. I need you to unlock it. And they were like, oh, we can't because you don't have a current account. And it's like, the law doesn't say anything about having a current account. The law says you have to unlock this. They didn't. It's a brick.
Wow.
Nothing I can do. I mean, yeah, you can actually get a third-party unlock. You can pay like $5, and somehow it'll unlock the phone. But that is like, where's Ron Wyden when you need him on that?
He's got his hands full. This is not new information, is it?
No.
I forgot to cut this one. One-tab users, watch out.
We talked about the bunker. There's some more detail about it, but we knew.
I've already pressed X.
That's fine.
We had
This one was exciting. I didn't expect this to settle for this little. I figured this would be a bigger kerfuffle.
another big, because we have all the big tech companies and the lawsuits and stuff, and they shake out, but then they appeal, and these just go on and on and on.
I'd forgotten about this when it's been in ongoing.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes forever for these things to shake out. So maybe this is the last call for this one. I don't know. It's such a small amount. I think they just do it, right?
Yeah.
Just get it out of here.
Taiwan's UMC to pay $60 million fine to settle U.S. trade secrets case. So Macron was at the heart of this here in the U.S. USMC, I guess, didn't
This
like...
was not the United States Marine Corps.
Yeah. There's a United Memory Company or something like that. It's a Taiwanese company.
S.
Oh, I'm sorry. United States...
There's no S.
Yeah, there's no S. Well, I mean, I was like, United States Marine Corps. Oh, yeah, USMC. This is UMC. United Memory Company, something like that. It's a Taiwanese company. But they partner with Micron, which is a U.S. company. That's why I was getting confused, because I was saying it's a U.S. company. And I guess UMC didn't like the royalties or the rates, so they tried to partner with, like, Fuxing something, a Chinese company.
I couldn't pronounce it.
Basically, to have some of the stuff done in China. But it seems to have been little more than, hey, you take the special sauce that Micron has, produce it in China where the IP laws are a little weaker, and we'll still do stuff with it here in Taiwan. U.S. regulators sort of saw through that.
There was an employee, too.
Yeah.
Who, I was like, oh, I don't work here anymore. I work over here. And all of a sudden they had all the technology.
Yeah. So I can't say that I'm super surprised that this played out this way, but literally the same thing happened with TSMC, but not any American companies like Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. A Chinese company came in and hired a bunch of TSMC people earlier this year, probably with the same kind of motivation, same kind of an idea involved. So we'll see how that plays out.
If tonight's festivities go red, we're going to hear a lot more about Article 230. That has to do with, can these online places, YouTube and Facebook and Google specifically, be held responsible for the content that is posted on their systems? Can they really be expected to police all that? Team Red says, yes, they have to be, and if there's something on there we don't like, they must be punished. This is perhaps a cautionary tale of where that might go.
Iranian YouTube CEO sentenced to 10 years over video uploaded by user. So, yeah, I mean, that's the whole story. 10 years in prison.
Now you might be
Goodbye,
thinking,
Level1 forums, if that happens here.
you might be thinking, well, what sort of horror did this person post? So it was a video, and it was aimed at children. I think that's really what doomed them. But the question they posed, and you're thinking, oh, was this like pornography or some like horrible stuff? No, the question they posed was, do you know where you came from? Talking about childbirth. 10 years. And this is also one of the richest Iranian men. So think about like Elon Musk goes to jail for a tweet. That's this kind of thing.
If he keeps up with baiting with the SEC, we might see that.
He probably should be in jail. Let's be honest. He hasn't stopped. And Pakistan is another country where the government takes a dim view of online freedoms, to be sure. I guess no country really champions online freedoms as much as they should, but Pakistan way on the other end of the spectrum. And there's this whole thing going on in France that has really angered them.
Reuters reports that Pakistan's PM takes aim at Macron and asks Facebook to ban Islamophobic content. But see, it's more complicated than that, because there's a teacher that was killed, and it was the whole like depicting a picture of the Prophet Muhammad thing.
Well, it goes back to the Charlie Hebdo thing.
Yeah.
So they published a cartoon of Muhammad. Now, in Islam, you're not supposed to have any depiction of Muhammad, and that led to a terrorist attack. They killed most of the people in that organization, didn't they? So now, I think it's the anniversary of that, or was recently.
And Macron spoke against that.
But this teacher was teaching about religious freedom. And in the religious freedom class, showed the cartoon. I think it was that cartoon, right?
Yeah.
And of course, was then beheaded.
And Macron, had a problem with that.
As you might.
Yeah. And then, Pakistan is saying, no, that's Islamophobic. And I can see that would maybe lead to some Islamophobia, but for what Macron said, it was carefully crafted not to do that, but some people are terrible. So I don't...
Well, their argument is not... It's ridiculous, because they're saying that's like, of course you got beheaded. You said bad things about our God.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to us, right?
Yeah.
And, therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
We're bordering on another salty comment section. Oh boy, you guys did not disappoint last week. I think we had like 700 or 800 comments on that episode last time I looked.
Oh wow, I didn't actually read them. I didn't get any death threats on Twitter, so I consider that a win.
But when you prompted people for the Friday to say nice things, they did. Thank you. They were very nice.
Thank you.
Switching to security, this one sounds kind of bad. It's actually not that bad, because there's not a lot you can do with it, but there is one particular thing you can do with it that I'm sure Intel is not happy about.
In a first, researchers extract the secret key used to encrypt Intel CPU code. Hackers can now reverse engineer updates or write their own custom firmware. This is exciting. It's going to lead to custom hackerific microcode. And the microcode is where all the secret sauce is. The microcode is what lets me overclock my dual Xeon E5 Broadwell V3 CPUs to almost 4.5 gigahertz. It was a bug in an early version of the microcode. And so this actually will open up a lot of really interesting stuff. Also, will probably open up some really amazing vectors for some incredible state-sponsored malware.
So this is this is not the current architecture though. This is Goldmont.
Yeah, Celeron, Pentium, or Atom. Oh, but it's coming.
But if you modify that, it also doesn't survive a reboot.
Well, it's microcode. That's fine. I get the hacked up firmware in a BIOS.
You'll have to have something plugged into it every time.
Yeah, the BIOS. The BIOS has a handy utility literally for loading that. There's a UEFI module to do that.
You think Intel will take the same approach as the game console companies and try to crush?
They absolutely. There's already an army of lawyers that have been dispatched in black attack helicopters.
I don't think my Switch is going to get any more updates because they put those guys in jail.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think that this kind of a leak, not for like Celeron or Pentium or Atom, but for more mainstream processors, it would be very bad for Intel.
It is bad, but it's not like they had any other bad news this week. Oh wait,
security blueprints of many companies have.
No, I wasn't leading into this story. I was talking about AMD.
Oh, okay.
This story is when you get hacked, it's embarrassing. right?
Oh, that's tomorrow. That's not today.
What?
The 5th. Remember the 5th of November. Gunpowder, treason, and plot.
But we already know. Oh, they're not supposed to know? Oh, no.
That was totally a V for Vendetta reference and nothing else.
I was, of course, talking about the CPUs. Wait, I thought... never mind. It's embarrassing if you get hacked. And it's always bad, but it's really, really, really bad if you're a security company and you get hacked. And the reason you got hacked is because the password was password01.
Crimson Security reports that the security blueprints of many companies leaked in a hack of Swedish firm Gunnebo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. They're a security consulting firm. They help people shore up their security. How do they do that? Well, they've got comprehensive plans and documented reports and all kinds of fun stuff, secured by the aforementioned password.
It was an RDP. And they got in. And they tried to ransomware, and I think these guys played hardball, but they didn't realize that they had exfiltrated a lot of stuff. It was stuff like bank vault schematics. And they work with a lot of casinos and banks and like real high profile, like millions and millions of dollars of cash running through this every day type of people. So where it's like, most of the time when you get hacked by something, it's like, well, no one's really going to use this information. No, they very well might use that information.
I'm looking forward to Ocean's 23.
What are they up to now for real?
I don't know. A lot.
Wasn't there a 14?
Yeah.
I thought they did a reboot with like women as well, so there's been a ton.
Did that release, or was that destroyed by the pandemic?
No, I think that got released.
Was it as popular as the Ghostbusters one?
I never watched any of the Ocean's movies. That shouldn't be too surprising. I don't watch movies very much, but...
Well, this hack might have led some people in Israel with wet-ass properties.
Over 100 irrigation systems left exposed online without a password. More than half of the exposed systems are located in Israel.
IoT for your sprinklers. What could go wrong? So you see their little dashboard here. This is what you could get into, and most of them had the default administrator password from the manufacturer.
Wow.
That's terrifying.
Ouch.
It's a good way to ruin a lot of crops.
Overwatering.
Or underwatering. You should just
idea.
say don't turn on.
Yeah, you can't turn them off. So they let some people know, and they've now been watching them one at a time blink off of the system as they figure it out. But there's still some on there.
If you don't, it's going to end up DDoSing a hospital in Chebelinsk.
Yeah, I wonder how much bandwidth do you think each sprinkler could bring to bear?
We're going to have a story on the next Level 1 News in a month or two where it's like, farmer in Israel gets $400,000 data bill.
Well, ransomware is not just useful on sprinklers or security companies. It's also useful on small government. Actually, it's probably the most successful there because they're bad at security and they have to do something. And of course, today's the big day. But here in the U.S., it's kind of unprecedented. We've been early voting and voting by mail. Have you seen the headlines where it's like Texas already has more votes than they had last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or not last year, but last election.
That's happening here. I did the early voting thing, and all of the poll workers were like, the turnout already has been considerably higher than last year.
I guess
it's a lot easier to vote, if you're working like a job that doesn't let you have election day off, if you can just do it anytime like in the week or two before.
We're always doing those campaigns where it's like, get out there and vote. And who knew that all we had to do was basically start a civil war?
I thought you were going to say make it easier to vote, but okay.
I don't think that's what's doing it. I think people are just, enraged. They want their team to win so badly. Anyway, it happened in Georgia, and they had to fall back to the archaic methods.
Ransomware hit a Georgia county. That did not stop its ballot counting. The officials, I love their response. They were like, well, they got our computers. We just went back to the paper ballots because they have paper backup copies. So they just wrote everything off on the computers and went to the backup plan, that's good that they can do that.
So what would have taken them a day took 11 days. But they did it.
Seems like it would have been cheaper to pay the ransom, but, you can't something negotiate with terrorists. I don't know.
You know what? These people were on the clock anyway. Give them something to do.
Ryan, did you vote by mail?
I did, yes.
You did. Have you checked? Did yours go in?
I checked last weekend. Mine was counted on the 19th.
Oh,
Well, no,
nice.
it was accepted. I don't think they are allowed in this state to count them yet, right?
Oh yeah, I'm not sure. Mine took like a week before it finally got a thing that was like, we got it. Took a little bit.
Yeah, it took a while. I sent mine in way before then, so
Yeah.
it wasn't immediate. Google has found a 0 day. They have their 0 day team, which I give them some credit. They found it and they fixed it. They crushed it. Good job, 0 day team.
Google patches actively exploited 0 day bug in Chrome browser. This is another one of those things where the vulnerabilities sort of chain together. This one had to do with font rendering. And so it turns out a malicious font can be used to completely own everything.
Krista, what if the fonts turn against us?
That's literally what happened.
Yeah. And if you got that little arrow on your Chrome browser right now, don't ignore it anymore. Because the font could get you.
Just have to go back to web-safe fonts, please no.
Now, Chrome gives you this really cool feature to delete all of your cookies and all the garbage every time you close it out. If you're really security minded, you don't want that convenience, you turn that on and you can be confident that it's going to delete all that stuff and you don't get in trouble with it. Except there was one very specific exception.
Chromebug meant browser didn't respect user requests to delete Google site data. So you go into Chrome and it's like delete all cookies. Yeah, but it's not going to delete your YouTube cookies and it's not going to delete your Gmail cookies or Google, some other Google and YouTube cookies. And it's funny. I joked about this on the Level 1 news like a year ago, and I just thought that was by design.
They claim that it had to do with some upgrades they made to another system. I don't know if I believe that.
I think it was by design because it was like, oh, it's gonna, you don't really want to log out of your account, do you? And it's like, no. I think there used to be an extra prompt in there.
So they say they're gonna fix it now. Hold your breath. Any day now, they'll fix it.
You know what I would really like them to fix? The Android migration thing. Because like for our test phones, like when I'm doing migrations and backups and stuff, like if you do the online backup and then restore a backup to a phone, it'll reinstall some of your applications, but not all of them. And the ones that it does reinstall, it doesn't actually reset up. So like if you have Teams, for example, or Netflix or something that has some user data, it doesn't restore the data. It doesn't restore the application data. Pixel Dungeon doesn't restore it. If you have one phone sitting next to another phone and you do the like direct phone-to-phone transfer, all it does is transfer your Google accounts. It doesn't transfer any data. It doesn't do any backups or anything like that. If I go in the command line and I copy the data myself using ADB, that works fine. There's no excuse for that, Google, in 2020. No excuse.
I'm sure they have a ton of excuses for you. Just ask. Cameras in the workplace. It is becoming more and more common. We talked last week about the new excuse is, of course, the pandemic, right? Got to put these cameras in here because we had to make sure that you're not getting too close to each other and breathing each other's air. And as with all the things we've talked about today, if it can be abused, it will be abused. And it was in a very sad way.
Surveillance startup used its own cameras to harass its coworkers. Employees at Verkada accessed the company's facial recognition system to take photos of women and colleagues and make sexually explicit jokes.
Now
This is why most women don't want cameras in their workplaces.
I need another engagement challenge here. Okay. Do you understand what this means?
Face match. Find me a squirt. No idea.
So they were looking at one of the female employees. He posted a screenshot, I guess. And this is what I don't understand it. Krista, what does this mean?
Wait, what is it?
It's
what are you looking
face match, find me a squirt.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but that's the thing that the women were up in arms about. Somehow that's sexualized. I don't understand it. I'm sure the people can define it for us. It wasn't the only thing, but it turned out there was this Slack channel that was just for harassing women. Harassment, the women didn't know. Is that really harassment if they don't know?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
I would think it would be a different word. Objectifying?
Yeah, I was going to go with objectifying, but it's not. That doesn't rise to a high enough level.
Environment.
You kind of cut out there, Krista. What was it?
it creates a non-professional environment.
Oh, I'm not arguing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So these guys got caught. Now, when it was just an internal thing, they took them aside and they were like, listen, we're going to give you two choices. Either you resign or we're going to take a bunch of your stock options away. And they're all like, yes, take my stock options because I love this job. This was the sales team, by the way. And then the story got out. And they had to go back and they're like, oh, okay, you're done. We can't survive this. But yeah, unfortunate. Because that company, their whole service is cameras and facial recognition, stuff like that.
By the way, the people that make up that company, not an atypical cross-section of the population that would be using that technology as well. So,
Yeah.
little preview of how, like, law enforcement face recognition,
Oh my
business face recognition.
God. The gallows humor in like EMT and law enforcement and stuff like that, they are going to be looking at pictures of corpses and making jokes about that the facial recognition comes up with.
The jokes are so pervasive that no one laughs at Weekend at Bernie's anything anymore because it's all Weekend at Bernie's.
I like the last quote in this article. The big picture for me, having worked at this company, is that it has really opened my eyes to how surveillance can be abused by people in power. How did you never think, like, oh, we would never do that?
I literally only had to build the concentration camps to understand how they would actually be used. Oh, Lord.
And finally, now we have talked about this in the past, the U.S. military is getting into Twitch because they find it to be a huge recruiting tool. I mean, if you're watching Call of Duty, you might get all stirred up and you're like, oh, I want to do that. How can I do that? And then they're like, hey, call a recruiter. Yeah, come do this in IRL. And it's apparently pretty effective, so they're doing more and more of it. But the thing about Twitch is the chat can get a little wild. Krista, there's a guy that you banned on our Twitch channel, and he messages our account every day begging to come back.
Really?
Yeah, he's apologized so many times.
Was that the one who like was just going like it was getting worse and worse, and I was only kind of half seeing it? But even our chat, like longtime members of our chat who are known to kind of push buttons, they were like, "Dude, you need to like calm down." I was like, if these guys are saying this guy's saying crazy stuff, like
he's I should send you those messages, but he's so apologetic. Like he really wants to come back. Maybe we should let him just to see what happens.
Maybe. If he starts that crap again, we'll
probably let him back, and he'll just start spamming swastikas immediately.
Yeah.
Anyway,
is that not funny? Who does not laugh at swastika? No,
yeah, I don't understand why everyone's upset.
No.
Anyway, the Twitch chat can get unruly, and they can ask you some really they're really good at like cutting to the bone.
Yeah.
Some of those people have a knack for it, and they certainly did so in the military channels. So much that there's now documentation that they give you when you become a military streamer.
The U.S. Navy has a manual for when Twitch viewers ask about war crimes. It would seem that the Navy prefers that their Twitch channel not discuss war crimes.
So you get this is 4 possible options.
Right.
Can you see that?
No, I can't see.
Very small.
Oh, it's not much better. So we'll just, if you have concerns about Navy policies or actions, I suggest you contact federal elected officials from your state. And there's stuff about like, blah, blah, blah. It's all very friendly and don't talk about the war crimes. Now, there's also a flow chart just in case you're not sure what to do. In their defense, they don't ever say censor. Just don't respond. Don't engage with it.
The first thing that popped into my mind when I saw the response decision tree, Idiocracy, the movie. Like when they're in the hospital and it's like, which thing is wrong with you? And he's like, you hit the button and it's like, is this what we've come to? Is this it?
I suspect the reason they did this is because they wanted to avoid, one of those because some of these guys, the way that they train you in the military, they install a lot of that patriotism and like gung-ho. And it has to be like that, right? Because you can't question anything when you're on a battlefield. You just have to do what they tell you. And they probably thought that someone might rage out and give them the whole I'm a special ops and I've killed 500 people. I got 7,000 confirmed kills. I'll come to your house. Like doing that IRL would be very embarrassing.
Yeah.
Hilarious, but embarrassing.
That would be great.
Also, this website, I'm completely distracted by the ad with the little puppy dog in the background.
We only get a little bit of the puppy dog because we got the browser smaller.
So it's very cute.
Oh, I see it. It wraps around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a big wraparound background ad. Effective.
It doesn't make me want to buy t-shirts.
No, it makes me want to hug my dog, who's currently looking out the window.
All right. Well, Chris, I think today's goodbye has to be a election 2020 goodbye.
Goodbye. I guess it could be more cheerful because it's over, but for now.
But the election might be over. But, well, I don't think it's going to be over today. I think we won't know.
Oh, it's true. We're recording this in the future, if you can't tell, chat.
But by today, I mean Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah. We probably won't know until like the end of next week, at the earliest.
You think that the news cycle will be annoying next week?
Yes.
My mental health's already spiraling. I'm going to have to just ignore it as much as I can.
Why don't you just turn to alcohol, Krista?
That's, every day, the siren call gets louder.
We've got the 5th of November, which is the most exciting day of the week.
You could, here's a great, if you love Twitter and you want Twitter, notoriety, here's a great picture that you can tweet. Go get a fifth of your favorite liquor and drain about half of it and then put your I voted sticker on it. Take a picture of that.
Yeah, just tweet like
sticker. You don't get that if you vote by mail.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow, and hopefully internet still exists.
Bye. Hello, everybody. Today is Wednesday, the 4th of November, 2020. And we're here with Hardware and Robot.
Don't forget about Devember. Devember on the forum. You can become a developer and escape this the economic wasteland. Move to Romania? I don't know.
You think there's a strong remote work thing in Romania?
There definitely is.
Hey, if you want to become a hacker, right? What better? Actually, there's probably a lot of competition there.
Yeah.
Gonna go someplace else. Well, the last episode we talked about more bad news for Intel, but gosh, the bad news that bad news was not directly related to a certain company, but come on. And this one is related for a different reason, a different company, but still the root of the problem, which is one company seems to be doing a really good job.
AMD's $649 Radeon RX 6800 XT will take on NVIDIA's RTX 3080. Also, AMD unveiled the Radeon RX 6800 and the more powerful Radeon 6900 XT. So Lisa Su did her presentation last week. It was pretty awesome. Competition's alive and well. I think things make a lot of sense because, NVIDIA released their new RTX 3000 series GPUs. Normal people have not been able to buy them. NVIDIA hasn't even seeded the Z-list YouTubers. So that tells you something about quantity and availability and anything like that. And it's a mess. It's a huge mess. And so I guess Jensen knew before we all knew how good these things really are. And so based on NVIDIA's reaction, they're probably pretty good.
Chris, you joke about Lisa Su always just holding things up. And of course, there's a picture of her holding it.
There is a picture of her holding it, yeah.
She looks so uncomfortable.
I mean, same whenever I have to do it.
I mean, if she was, going to school, like CEO school, and it's like you're going to have to parade around on stage with lights and random stuff, she's like, do what now? That's part of the role of CEO.
She's PhD, right? Like, she probably always thought, I'll work in like a lab somewhere and like away from people, and now she has to give presentations to people.
But she has to feel pretty good holding up that video card, knowing that it's millions and millions of dollars in her pocket.
It is a AMD is doing well innovation wise, but remember the 5th of November. I'm going to be at Micro Center tomorrow, so it's going to be amazing.
Now NVIDIA, this is a rumor, by the way, but it seems like they might have had a couple of extra bullets in the chamber just in case those AMD cards were really, really powerful, and maybe because they weren't in some ways, they've decided to take those bullets out of the chamber because they can't make enough bullets as it is.
NVIDIA allegedly canceled the GeForce RTX 3080 20 gig and 3070 16 gig. Now, these cards were rumors to begin with, but the rumor now is that board partners have been told these are not coming. And, you know, the 3070 also launched last week. And the 3070 quantities were definitely higher, at least if the local micro center is anything to judge by. The local micro center had about 35 or so on launch day 3070s. On 3080, on the 3080 launch day, they had 12. On the 3090 launch, they had 5. So the numbers are a little better, but still not great. They're sold out everywhere.
AMD is not sitting on all those piles of cash. They are looking to use them to expand and talk about looking into the future. Yeah. How about so far into the future that it's CPUs in space?
Xilinx. AMD has grabbed Xilinx for $35 billion as chip industry consolidation continues. Everybody's got a lot of hot takes on this one. Xilinx just won some awards for AI and computation and blah, 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 which means that by extension and vicariously, AMD has won those awards. And what's really interesting here is NVIDIA is going to have to do business with AMD because Xilinx is used in a lot of NVIDIA solutions. So that's neat.
The only chips that are radiation shielded for space. AMD in space. Financial Times paywall is just disgusting.
Oh, somebody offered to send us free subscriptions.
No, let's not do that. I should have just... I used the Axios article. If you're looking for the alternative, Axios. Look for the Axios article for the alternative here. But this has to do with Apple. Now, this is also a rumor, but it kind of makes sense. Because if you remember, one of the things that all these antitrust people keep, beating Google over the head with is, look how much you're paying Apple to be the number one search engine. How is this fair? What other search engine can pay these billions of dollars? So they might be forced to stop doing that, which is a big cash cow for Apple. So what do?
Apple develops an alternative to Google search so they can just make the money themselves.
What are they going to call it?
Probably Apple Search. I don't think they're going to go too crazy with it.
Suddenly that conspiracy theory story about Germany looking into Apple and the advertiser IDs, and it's like, oh, we never leave that. One way that Apple could totally monkey's paw, the whole monkey's paw comes true in a horrible way. One way that Apple could maintain your privacy, but not actually maintain your privacy, is to just go to a company and be like, all right, mortgage companies, we will show your ad to anybody that's about to buy a mortgage. And they're like, who is that? How will we know? That's not for you to know. You just buy the ads from us. Technically satisfies user privacy, and Apple's still fully in control of everything. That would be like the search engine side of it as well.
Now, Apple has kind of soft denied this, but people have shown that their crawling activity has exploded lately.
Yeah.
Why would you want to crawl the entire internet? Maybe you're building a search engine. And also, they've added a new feature to the iPhone that uses their internal results rather than somebody else.
It's going to be called Apple Slice. Find the slice of the internet you're looking for.
It could be something to do with tree.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Tree would be a good way to go. Roots. I think those called Apple Search.
Roots. Dig through all the muck to find the result you want.
Exactly. Well, Krista, you were looking at a lovely little ice cream sandwich style log cabin house. How's that going?
Yeah. My husband's not interested in that because it's a little far out. But it has internet. It has fiber internet.
Well, Krista, who wears the pants in that family?
We both contribute to the house fund. Rights in how it gets spent when we buy a house. I do love that house, though. It's incredible.
But the thing about that house, you got to give it, it's fiber internet. I mean, for a house like that on that kind of land, that is just a unicorn.
It's unheard of. I was like, we got to get it. They're having an open house this Sunday.
Oh, are you going to go? Oh, you're doing the other thing.
Yeah, I'll be gone.
You're wasting your life, Krista. Anyway, if you don't get that house, then you might be at the mercy of Mr. Musk's Starlink. And now we know what it costs.
SpaceX Starlink public beta begins. It's $99 a month plus $500 up front. It's better than nothing. Beta to have speeds up to 150 megabits and latency as low as 20 milliseconds. Listen, As somebody who has lived in those rural places, that's a steal.
Yeah.
That's a steal.
There's no question people will pay that.
There's a property that I'm monitoring that literally just has a 3 megabit connection that's just enough to upload pictures from the camera system when it sees motion to a central server. And about 3.5 megabit is the minimum that I need in order to be able to do that. And it costs $170 a month from the local cable monopoly.
Now they're calling this the better than nothing beta. So basically they're admitting it's not there yet. They have 800 satellites in the sky.
Yeah.
They're expecting 12,000 with this run and 42,000 eventually. And so maybe more than that eventually. And they're saying right now it'll work probably, maybe not all the time, and it's maybe not going to be as good as we say it is ultimately, but this is the better than nothing beta. So, and a lot of those rural people, like you say,
yeah,
they're happy. They're happy with better than nothing.
3 megabit for $170 is the benchmark that you got to beat. And that ain't much. That ain't much to beat.
No one has gotten the $500 covers all the equipment, the little, base station and everything. No one's gotten one yet, but supposedly they will be shipping soon. Exciting. Now here's the thing about Starlink though, that it's not surprising, although I never thought about it. All of those satellites that you're going to launch, and they're so expensive each just to get them up there, you can't really count on 100% lifetime. Some of these will fail, and in fact, they have.
About 3% of Starlink satellites have failed so far. What does it matter when it doesn't cost anything to launch these things? Just hook them up there. Some of them die, no big deal.
So we're a little over 800. 3% would be 25 by my quick maths. That's probably wrong.
Yeah.
I think 25. So 25 dead Starlinks in the sky.
They've turned into bullets for the International Space Station that, probably bad for other satellites and literally anything else.
But when we go to the 42,000, that 3%, which is a pretty standard, I mean, that you can kind of expect that. They talk about that's going to be a lot more. And they talk about the Kessler syndrome, which is where one collision turns into 100 collisions maybe.
Yeah, because little pieces fly everywhere.
And then every collision that results from that 100 collisions might become 100 more collisions. So what happens when we pollute the entire orbit?
That's a problem for a future generation, right?
They also
continue first.
You go ahead.
No, mine's not relevant to the article. It's just relevant to the website design. So.
Well, they suspect that the dead ones might hit the atmosphere eventually, but it can take up to 5 years.
They need to build in a watchdog circuit so that the dead ones can just, it's like head toward Earth.
Well, I don't think it's responding at all.
I mean, yeah, if it's a watchdog, it's like there's a very simple circuit that's like, I haven't heard from anybody in a while. Time to self-terminate.
Well, I don't think it's as much like the communication system as just like nothing is happening.
They could build a failsafe pretty easily.
They got that the net system that's supposed to be coming. Oh, Krista, what was your thing?
Okay. So this website, it's got the topics across the top in the black bar, right?
Okay.
But then you click on the topics at the top, and it's the same topics, but as a drop-down menu. And so I was like, oh, is that a bug? Is the mobile version of the menu showing up? But then when you go down to lower sizes, it's still there.
The topics hamburger?
I don't know that we're getting it. Oh, here we go. Okay, I see what you're saying.
You get more options when you hover over these, but like, why would you not just make this the menu full time?
That seems so bad that an agency came up with it.
It's just redundant. I don't understand. I thought it had to be a bug, but I think it's a feature. Strange, chat. Anyway, not really related to the article at all, but
Fizz.org. I hope you're happy with yourselves.
The rest of the site looks fine. I just thought the menu was weird.
The internet was greatly angered about the takedown of YouTube DL. I have to say, now I think the repositories still have it, right?
There's copies of it, but it's not on GitHub.
But can I install it just through the
repos? Yeah, for now.
So I use this constantly. Every time I mow the lawn, I'm using YouTube DL because I don't want to hit the data while I'm out there, and I'm too far away from the Wi-Fi out on on the property. I would be very angry if they got rid of this, and I would certainly not be alone.
The RIAA's YouTube DL takedown has ticked off developers and GitHub's CEO. So the RIAA has said YouTube DL, its only use is to infringe on music labels' copyright. They're on a tear. They must have gotten some fresh money from somewhere, or maybe they just got cabin fever from the pandemic or whatever. But the specific issues that they took with this is that the YouTube DL instructions, like general usage guide, one of their examples was like downloading a Taylor Swift song, and it's like, well, I guess that's not okay because technically that's copyrighted or whatever. And some of the code on GitHub also has some stuff for deleting YouTube's rolling cipher algorithm, which may or may not be actually circumvention under the DMCA. But what most people don't realize is that this type of DMCA notice is not actually eligible for a counter notice. So like normally with the DMCA, you can say, no, this has significant non-infringing uses, or this is fair use, or whatever. You can file a counter notice, and then GitHub is not responsible. It's up to the article author if the article author likes to do that. Well, this is a DMCA 1201 takedown. That's different. And that means that if GitHub reinstates this, then they will also be criminally liable, potentially, should things not rule in GitHub's favor, because it's so egregious that it has to be infringing. But the GitHub CEO has said, we're going to get this back, and maybe with some modifications.
There were some great responses to this. As you can imagine, the old Streisand effect hitting hard here. This is a pair of images that you can convert into the tarball to install YouTube DL.
Everybody remember the illegal prime number? There's a certain prime number that decrypts to a DVD decryption program.
So it's been mirrored everywhere. Certainly no problem getting it, but I'm sure this will not be the last we hear.
This is not the last we're going to hear of the RIAA, even in this episode of the news.
They will not back down.
Or is that in nonsense?
They are just the worst kind of scum.
They really are.
There was not a lot to look forward to in November. Got to admit. Right. I mean, we do have some new hardware and stuff like that. Unless you're some of the people just.
I can't wait for tomorrow. I don't know what you're talking about. After tomorrow, I'm done. I'm done for the year.
Most people aren't going to run out and get it though. You're in your little bubble.
I am in my little bubble.
Not the real world.
It's definitely not.
And but one thing that everybody was looking forward to, at least most of us, I think, was a hot new video game, a new virtual world that we can live in as to escape this terrible world. But the news is dire.
CD Projekt Red has delayed Cyberpunk again. This is the third delay. It's not coming until November 20th.
December 20th.
I think
it's like December 10 or something like that.
It was delayed 20 days, I think.
People were very upset about this time around.
We have a story about that in the nonsense.
Yeah. People. Now, there's been reports that CD Projekt Red did away with crunch, and that's why we had one of the initial delays. But then there have been counter reports that they've been crunching all along.
Yes, I would believe the latter, because that's how it goes. It's like, oh, look, good news. We got a delay on the project. Work twice as hard.
This one, it does make me a little bit angry, and then the reasoning behind it has nothing because the game has gone gold. And I think they're even working on a day one
DLC
patch. Not DLC, but a patch.
Oh, a patch.
What's the problem here is that now we have so many new consoles and everything that they're trying to get it ready for all of everything for the same day.
The PS5 and Xbox One X people will just have to wait.
No, that's what they will not do.
Especially like people are going to be getting those new consoles for Christmas. Like, you can't do
right, yeah. And those consoles come out right around the original release date.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We could probably have our PC version tomorrow, realistically. But no. They have to ruin it. Amazon, they obviously we've been looking we want to do like the Twitch watch along thing. So we've been looking like, oh, what Prime videos? But we want to do one that's included with Prime, so people don't have to pay for it. And so many videos we look at are not included with Prime. It's like, oh, for sure they'll give us this one. No, it's $2.99. But here's the dark secret about that $2.99 that you spend.
Amazon argues that users don't actually own purchase Prime Video content. It's a license, and it may be revoked at any time. So this woman is suing Amazon to get them to clarify, because in the terms of service it says, we could just end this at any time. And you never know. I mean, look at Microsoft. Microsoft had their book service where you would buy a book for Microsoft, and then they just quietly turned that off one day. And ultimately, Microsoft did actually issue a refund to everybody that bought a book. But, Amazon, if they get into financial straits or it doesn't make business sense for them to offer this service anymore, if they were to end this service and also offer everybody a refund, that might be a non-trivial amount of money to Amazon. So they're just like, okay, let's hedge our bets. Let's not do this.
That might end up being something like, 1% of Bezos' wealth.
Yeah, but movie studios and stuff like that are not wanting to license content to Amazon Prime in the first place because movie studios and the RIAA, they do not want you to own anything. Ever. Under any circumstances. Being able to buy a disc, that's archaic. You cannot do with that disc as you please. We must control it after the sale. With first sale doctrine, forget it.
I feel like that's like a miniature version of our entire culture. They don't want you to own anything.
So true.
Ironically, much like YouTube, ripping the content from those streams, a lot easier than the DVD. But it's illegal. Don't do it. So, and the woman, Amazon's counter, and I have a bad feeling about it because I think they're going to win, because her case is saying that she bought all these things, but the terms of service say that she can't keep them. However, nothing she's bought has ever been taken away from her. And here's the nail in the coffin. Since she filed this lawsuit, she's bought 13 more Amazon Prime videos.
It should be, it is kind of a property law thing. Should she be able to collect her property? Probably.
But she can't show damages. That's the legal problem that she's going to have. We'll see. I'm sure we'll have a follow-up on that. And, this is in the realm of, this is really cool, but it doesn't really exist yet. And it probably won't for a while. But, hey, when I'm old, I want to be in VR.
Yeah.
When my body's all broken down, I want to start abusing drugs and being on VR. That's what my old age needs to be.
Samsung and Stanford make a 10,000 pixel per inch display that could lead to flawless VR. So this is OLED, but this is not OLED like you're used to knowing OLED. There's a meta mirror, a panelization thing, an OLED stack, and then the capping layer. And what happens is these nanochannels prevent light of certain wavelengths from escaping. So you have a white OLED that ends up having all of its photons basically converted into whatever wavelength the nano gate is set up for. So the white OLED becomes blue or red or green. We get around the longevity problem that we have with blue OLEDs. So this could be an incredible display technology.
And, importantly for VR, no more screen door. It will be realistic VR. I didn't notice the screen door as much when we used the VR.
Oh, you definitely noticed it on first-gen devices, but that second-gen device that we got to use, it was definitely a lot better.
Here's one that might stir up some comments. Now, it is important to note, I imagine this has to be the current generation, not the beta.
Yes.
Because they wouldn't have had access to the beta. So this is, maybe it gets better, although some of the videos I've been watching online I've been enjoying. Seems like that new autopilot is not doing so well.
Consumer Reports, Tesla Autopilot is a distant second to GM's Super Cruise. Super Cruise uses eye tracking to ensure the driver is watching the road. That makes sense.
Now, there is a good argument against Consumer Reports here. Although at the same time, I don't know, I think you can definitely say that an autopilot that doesn't do as much, but also maybe doesn't kill you, is better. Right? Because the GM one only operates on certain roads, and they're all mapped out in advance. Like, they've done all this map work. So if you're not on one of the pre-mapped highways, there is no self-driving. Whereas Tesla's just like, we'll see what happens.
Side of a truck,
But, yeah. Consumer Report says that you can't get the Super Cruise on anything but a Cadillac at this point, I think. But coming soon, it's going to be on a lot of GM products.
There is a lot of the time that I do find myself preferring the product that has less functionality but more reliable functionality than a product that has more functionality but is flaky.
Especially when you're hurtling along the highway at 80 miles an hour. Critically important. Now, I have canceled Netflix. There has not been one time. I think I canceled it like 2-3 months ago. There has not been one instance, not one, not a millisecond, where I said to myself, "God, I miss Netflix." And this only galvanizes my decision. These numbers are getting into like totally unrealistic for me.
Yeah,
don't you think?
Cable package numbers.
Netflix is raising the price of its most popular plan to $14 today, and the premium tier increases to $18. Yeah, I don't. Netflix canceled Altered Carbon. They only did 2 seasons of it, and it was just starting to get good. I like the universe, but it's weird because the way that universe works is the same people are played by different characters, and I can understand that might not translate well to a television show.
Yeah. Now, is $14 is the HD one, right? Like the $9 one is just
Basics.
real trash.
720p or whatever.
Yeah. So, $14 a month and $18 a month, that's getting crazy.
What's Disney? Isn't Disney's absurd?
Yeah, Disney's is crazy.
What was Disney's? It wasn't that much, was it? Was it like 12?
I don't find Netflix's recommendation engine to be very good.
And when you get lost in just trying to dig up something, your free time is eaten up by trying to find.
Yeah.
Got a number for us,
It's about the same, I guess. Wow. But that's like a limited time offer. Disney Plus is absolutely going up.
They all are, I suspect.
And they also did the thing with Mulan where it was like, even though you're already paying for the subscription, you have to pay another $30 to see Mulan.
Yeah, well, the sheep will pay it. I was one of them for a long time. I'm so glad to be liberated. Grubhub. We've done stories about this before where Grubhub, there were restaurants, and one day they start getting bad reviews on Yelp or something like that. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? We don't even serve lasagna here. How are you attacking our lasagna? It turns out Grubhub gets a little creative.
Grubhub has been hit with a lawsuit for listing restaurants without permission. Business owners say they've criticized the practice because it causes significant damage to their hard-earned reputations. This article digs up some amazing examples. There were several restaurants on Grubhub that just don't offer any kind of takeout service at all. None. And yet the drivers are able to fill orders from there. Other restaurants were using outdated menus and pricing. Still other restaurants were in a situation where they were getting bad reviews, but the food did not actually come from that restaurant.
And obviously, they're pretty angry about that. Grubhub does not deny it. That was part of their business model. Now, their idea was, we will just work around it. Like, if somebody places the order, we will actually send the driver to come and to either call you or come to the restaurant and place the order in person and then deliver it. Although, how can you make money sitting there waiting for food?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. But if you don't want that to happen, it's fine. Just contact us explicitly and tell us you don't want to be a part of it. But these restaurants had no idea. Yeah. So you're asking me to be proactive on something I might not even know about. Seems wrong. This one's really... Do you remember this headline?
Yes. Yeah.
It's, the Bloomberg... No script will defeat the Bloomberg paywall. Pro tip. I think we've said that before. So the console wars, these damn consoles, they've cost us Cyberpunk. But the wars are heating up, and they're not even out yet. How is that possible? Well, the darkness that we live in.
Sony's PlayStation 5 is hotter than the Xbox One X on the secondary futures market, I guess. I don't know. This is like a scalpers thing.
They call it the black market.
It's selling a little better. It's doing a little better on those secondary markets. So is that a predictor of things to come?
Bloomberg, it's not very woke to call it the black market, is it?
No. That's why I said it was like secondary market.
Oh, you're trying to get... don't buy into that. So yeah, it turns out that the scalpers, they scoop them up and they sell. I think in some cases you can sell the pre-order ID or something like that. In some cases it's just on eBay. It's like, when I get it, you'll get it. And it turns out Sony's killing them.
I've been following a website where they've been buying the $3,000 RTX 3080 and 3090s on eBay with just throwaway eBay accounts and dragging out the eBay thing to the maximum 14 days, and then they're allowed to relist it or whatever. But everybody that's been, trying to scalp 3080s and 3090s on eBay have been completely disrupted by a band of trolls. It's sort of been great.
It's going to make eBay lock down the account creation even more. TikTok is riding on their wave success, or ByteDance, that's the company. They've decided to expand their product reach beyond software. I don't understand the appeal of this, but hey, maybe I'm not a parent, and that's why I don't get it.
TikTok parent ByteDance launches its first gadget in a big education push. So it's this little tree thing with a light and a camera and a screen, and it helps make sure that children do their homework. How, you might ask? Well, what you don't see in the picture is a shock collar. And if the child moves out of view of the camera, they get a little encouragement shock to help them come back and finish their homework. No, I'm just making up the part about the shock collar, but that's the next logical step, is a Bluetooth shock collar accessory.
Now, how is this different than going to the dollar store and getting a $5 lamp and leaning my phone against it?
The lamps they sell at the dollar store actually have phone docks now.
So I don't even have to get like a rubber band. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, I don't, and it's $119.
But apparently in China, because of the the work situation, the whole you're never allowed to go home thing, raising kids, a lot of people do like the FaceTime type of stuff, and I guess this helps with that.
Wow.
Krista, Microsoft, I'm sure you read the articles, right?
Oh, absolutely. Every time.
The Microsoft is coming up with a big UI redesign. Can take your temperature on that. Sun Valley.
It's fine until you can use it. I mean, there's some screenshots in here, but not many.
Headline.
Oh, sorry, I didn't read it. Microsoft plans big Windows 10 UI refresh in 2021, codenamed Sun Valley. It wants to reinvigorate the Windows 10 experience.
They're working on this. They're not fixing any of the bugs with Windows 10.
It doesn't even look that different from what I can tell. It's just, okay, yeah.
I don't need more stuff in my soft keyboard. I don't need an emoji. Jesus Christ. An emoji menu?
With memes.
Clippy as one of their GIF options.
Oh, that's an Easter egg, Krista.
I guess this is the new desktop.
I'm not really excited about this. Does it really add a lot of value? Not really.
No. This is juxtaposed with 2020. It's like, the Windows XP was like the rolling hills, the grass. There's no threat at all, but there's a little bit of an implied threat in the new background.
Some storm clouds on the horizon.
Yeah. The terrain's a little rougher. It's going to take you a little longer to get from there to here.
I think that's a tree on the mountain off in the distance, but it kind of looks like a T-Rex if you squint.
I mean, you can still go anywhere you want today. Where do you want to go today? But it's going to be a little harder to get there in this kind of terrain.
Chrissy, you should take that image and Photoshop it so it is a little tiny T-Rex.
Just a little T-Rex.
And then we'll put that on the forum so people can use it. Zoom. The story is it's a little incendiary because it has to do with a very contentious topic, the old Israel-Palestine thing. And it seems like that was such a contentious topic that Zoom figured out that Zoom was being used, and they were just like, no, we're done, we're out. But being out is also taking a stand, and now they're catching flack for that.
Zoom deleted events discussing Zoom censorship. The action follows the company canceling an event at San Francisco State University where Leila Khalid was meant to give a talk. Zoom won't stand for that.
Apparently, Leila Khalid is a wanted terrorist in some parts of the world.
That seems controversial.
Yeah, I don't think we could take a stance either way without,
knowing more.
I'm just going to plead ignorance. I respect both sides of the conflict. You can't do that. People aren't happy with that. MailChimp. So we have all these big tech companies, and they're taking a stand, and they're getting political and deciding who can be on their services. Patreon took some flack for doing that. Zoom, obviously.
Remember Visa going after people because people were sending money to WikiLeaks?
Yeah. So a lot of companies are just saying that, hey, if we don't like what you have to say, we're going to shut you down. Well, add another one to the group.
MailChimp. MailChimp? MailChimp makes its censorship rules official, outlines right to ban users for inaccurate content. So if WikiLeaks was using MailChimp, they would have been banned long ago.
Inaccurate, you say? Well, the truth will set you free. No. It's actually just their discretion what's inaccurate and what isn't. MailChimp will decide what the truth is and apply that.
So where do certain political campaigns go to get MailChimp type services now?
They make their own, I guess. That's part of the money goes to that.
Because that's where we've become. We're literally going to have red and blue themed technical services.
And then you'll have a blocker that can block that so that you can really just live in your own bubble. Truly.
I never see any colored news that I don't want to. And somebody's like, colored news? What?
What?
Moving on to robot. Some exciting, uplifting robot stories. The robot section gives us a little moment of, like happiness. Because it's rarely a terrible robot story. Although sometimes robots, like accidentally kill people. But this is not the case. Now imagine, if you will, that you are on a road trip and you get to the halfway mark of 146 million miles. Certainly you've earned a Mountain Dew, perhaps a Slim Jim, maybe some Gardettos or combos.
Oh, those are disgusting.
Those are prime gas stations.
Which one don't you like?
I don't like Gardettos or combos. Combos are especially disgusting.
How many flavors have you tried?
Just the default flavor.
I don't even know what that is. Is that the pretzel and cheese, or?
Yeah, it was almost like a pimento cheese consistency, but it was a really offensive taste.
Now the pizza ones I think are kind of nasty.
The pizzas are good.
Oh, you like the pizzas? I don't like the pizzas.
I like the pizzas, and I like Gardettos are great too. We buy those just for home sometimes.
Oh, wow. Now there's going to be some comments, but those are the kind of comments that's actually good. Anyway, Perseverance, living up to its name, it's going a long way.
NASA's Perseverance rover is midway to Mars. Woo, a new rover. Red rover, can Perseverance come on over?
146 million miles to go. That's not a straight line. There's their approach. So we are here.
Nice.
It's going to get there, and it's going to study the planet and get ready for Elon Musk's, I'll show the headline. Future world where he's some kind of demigod. Makes his own rules.
It's got the red carpet with the gold embroidery on board for his arrival. It's gonna roll it out under the rocket where his rocket's gonna land.
What, his kid's a boy, right?
I think so.
I mean, I know that's controversial to say, but what if because the kid's got the weird name, what if he sends him to control Mars?
Well,
He doesn't have like 6 other kids.
It's more and more like a Dune novel every day.
I don't think he likes the other kid. I think he's kind of like Trump. He's got kids with all different women, but only the current one interests him. But the kid's got the weird name, so like it's totally a sci-fi dystopian. I mean, it's perfect, right? The other NASA robot that we need to talk about is the one. Now we talked about this. I guess we talked about it last week, right? The one that flew in step with the asteroid. And then really deftly got down there and just gobbled up a bunch of the rocks. And there was a question. It
went a little more Hulk smash than expected.
Oh, there was a question. So that right now they were trying to decide, do we bring it home or do we go for another gobble? And we weren't supposed to know, and we weren't supposed to do the second gobble until January. But now we actually do know early because it was so good. It was like a hungry hippo just down there.
NASA probe is now so full of asteroid material that it now has a problem. So they've got the camera on board, and the little grabber probe thing, it didn't fully close because it was so full of crap. And so this article talks about how they plan to stow it. Well, as of the time that we're recording this, just a few hours ago, they posted a story about how, yes, they did successfully stow it. So any material that was sort of oozing out of the grabber will be contained in the stowed bay, and we can do the earlier rendezvous because we don't need to do a second pass in January because we got a crap ton of material.
So
what a way of describing it, oozing.
It's definitely not oozing.
Well, the little chamber was jammed because it just got so much it couldn't close.
So exciting times.
And that's how the warp demons will get in. It's coming back.
I thought you were going to say the Andromeda strain. It's like this is the opening chapter of the Andromeda strain.
COVID 2021 is on that, coming back right now.
You know, sadly, I think that COVID 2020. Oh, I shouldn't say it.
We should say
The thing 2021 will still be the thing 2021 for all of 2021. Yeah. I did not realize when you watch sports on TV, you think, God, those cameramen are really good at keeping track of where that little ball is going. Well, it turns out it's all robotic, but robots have flaws.
Robot Cam confuses lineman's bald head for a football in Scotland. So the cameraman's robotic, but the announcer is not. So some of the recordings of the announcer trying to deal with the robot, especially before he realizes what's going on, is amazing.
So you can see the sun is kind of, you know, at a weird angle here. And yeah, it's the guy, it wasn't a referee on the field, he was a lineman, so he was standing on the sidelines, and every time the ball would go past him, the camera was just lock onto him and stay there, and the ball would continue on.
And the announcer was like, what?
It does look like a soccer ball.
It's like, can you wear a hat? Somebody send a runner down to that guy. He needs to wear a hat.
Uber has they're having a bad time because people aren't riding in Ubers, obviously, when, you know, we're not supposed to be around other people, and you don't want to lock yourself in a little tiny chamber with a stranger. And unfortunately, that leads to a lot of firing, and they have a particular way of doing it that's kind of disgusting.
Uber has been sued by drivers over automated robo-firing. This is in London. So the algorithm is just like, you know, you're not a good fit for Uber, and that's it. That's the end of it. There's nothing more.
You basically get ghosted. They talked to several people, and one guy, he was a full-time Uber driver. Like, that was his job. And he said he got in the car one morning and tried to log in, and it was like, oh, I'm sorry. You're not an Uber driver anymore. So he was like, well, why? And the excuse that the app gave him was fraudulent activity. And he was like, okay, well, I'm sure that's not true. Let's talk about this. Why don't you just tell me what it is? And a year later, he can't talk to a human being. The robot decided his time was over, and his time was over.
Meanwhile, the real fraudsters are cackling and getting away with whatever it is that they're up to. Like the Kafka-esque nightmare that we currently live in, you know, requires.
Well, the stress of this situation could cause all sorts of issues. We might get some ulcers. We might get some digestive issues because, you know, all this horrible stuff going on.
I return to field medicine because gathering for medical care is also a risk.
But good news, when your guts rot away from all the fear and anger that is roiling inside of you, we have a new tool to fix them.
All-terrain micro-robot flips through a live colon. It's the size of like 3 or 4 human hairs across. They've got a picture of it on a penny.
It's
like,
Flippy's little brother. Look at him go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like, this is Flippy. We should petition to have him named Flippy. There it is on the penny. It's just a few pixels on your screen, but look at that little guy. It's also organic, or not really organic, but biocompatible. So it's not like you're, you know, eating carbon nanotubes, which are extraordinarily bad.
Why would you want this little guy in your colon? Well, it turns out that the hope is not only can he be used for diagnostic purposes, but also to deliver medicine, which might otherwise, you know, like melt your stomach or something like that.
Yeah.
That's an animal colon, not a human colon. Human colon would actually be much bigger because obviously that was very large inside that little tiny tube. But they envision just fleets of these guys just roaming around inside your body.
Just flipping around.
Yeah. And power system, you're thinking, well, how do you power them? Actually, that is an electromagnetic field from outside. So they'll just put you on a table, fill you full of robots, and then drive them around with an electromagnet.
The same force that could suck a folding metal chair from across the room will power the robots that will heal you.
I'm sure there won't be any situations where they forget those right before they do the MRI.
Getting closer and closer to the episode of the Magic School Bus where they shrunk the bus and went into one of the characters' bodies.
I have this weird stabbing pain, and there's little red dots on the ceiling of the MRI. What's happening?
This is what it feels like to die at the hands of Magneto.
Waymo, we learned recently that Waymo was, in Phoenix at least, full autonomous, no driver. You could participate that. And it looks like they're taking all the things that they've learned there, moving into new fields.
Waymo and Daimler are teaming up to build a fully driverless semi-trucks, and they've got some pictures there. It looks quite a bit farther along than Nicola's self-driving truck. It seems more legit. I don't know. I mean, I'm just some internet bozo, but it seems like it's more legit.
So you got this little like piece that they put on top that has all the sensors and everything, and I guess these are cameras on the front. So I guess you could retrofit older trucks if you wanted to. This is level 4. Now remember that what was Autopilot's level 2 or level 3?
Yeah, it's not. I think it's level 2.
Level 5 is the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
So this is level 4.
It's close. But I mean, for interstate driving and for like, airport to hub driving or anything like that, it's perfect.
Although if it goes wrong,
Yeah.
that's a huge liability, because those trucks are just, they can cause many traffic accidents. Well, one that affects many people.
Many millions of dollars of problems in one mishap.
Oh, well, with liability, to talk about millions, I mean, hundreds of millions. So we'll see. It's interesting world where the semis are automated. What will they do for the already decimated jobs picture?
And surely the truckers can reskill Linode.com
Linode.com/desperate truckers.
We actually do have a few truckers in our audience that have reskilled successfully. So congratulations.
Big trucker from Twitch. I think he's still a trucker, but he has a deep interest in technology.
We've had a few of them post on the forum. I mean, it's good stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, this is not any new information, I'll admit, but I take any excuse I can to talk about Flippy. And we celebrate Flippy getting a new contract.
White Castle to expand implementations with Miso Robotics and target up to 10 new locations following pilot. Check out how much they retrofit their kitchen to make the kitchen safe for Flippy. Look, all that blast glass and...
so he won't fling hot grease onto the other employees.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting you humans are not immune to boiling hot grease. My bad.
So, yeah, I don't... it'd be cool to find out where these locations are. We have a White Castle here. I don't think we'll get a Flippy.
No, I think we're probably the bottom of the list to get a Flippy.
There's so many robot jokes from Futurama that are now applicable. It's amazing.
Now, this one was a late edition. I actually didn't get a chance to read it, but Krista did. And, man, is this great. Actually, yeah. This is our last story, but we have a supplementary tab. So, Krista, take it away with this one.
Virtual influencers make real money while COVID locks down human stars. You know, the meme of, like, people putting on clown makeup? That's how I felt reading this story. This is a story about virtual influencers, people who, according to the people who make these kind of bots, they're great because they don't get older, they don't die, and you can control them 100%. And this is apparently now a very popular trend.
Emma. IMMA. So Emma has 300,000 Instagram followers, and
turns out not a real person.
You have to admit, these are realistic pictures.
Yeah. So I read this article at first, and I was like, I saw the picture, and I just assumed it was like, a random photo. But when you read the article and then you look up her Instagram, I wouldn't know necessarily, just reading her description and looking through her photos, that this was a bot.
But it's not just a bot, it's a well-funded bot. And see, this is where it gets potentially dangerous, because it's Riot that is doing this. And so how long, somebody inside Disney saw this article and they've already gotten a blank check to just do whatever. And so Disney is already building at least a half a dozen of these.
They've got the old samples that they kept of Miley Cyrus's DNA, and they're trying to mix that in with robotics to somehow recreate the Hannah Montana magic.
Yeah,
Quick!
This is great because too, with all the COVID restrictions, real human influencers can't go anywhere and promote products, but the bot can.
Quick, me, get me the Imagineer that came up with robot Trillery hump or whatever, because If you've seen that robot in the Hall of Robots, it's totally the Hillary Clinton robot with a Trump mask.
How much do you think this bot's getting paid?
At 400,000 followers on Instagram, it's probably already earning a lot of money. Although
But she also creates content for other stuff too.
oh yeah,
Wow, there's also a fake dog. Oh, I don't know. It could be a real dog, I guess. There's a fake dog that she links, like her dog's profile. Wow. That's impressive.
There's like an alert at Disney. It's like, he's gone mad. He's gone too far. He's mixed Miley Cyrus with Britney Spears. We can't have that level of celebrity.
She also links her fake boyfriend, and when you click on his profile, it says, "I'm a virtual human in the fake plastic Earth."
Is that him? Is this him in this
The red
picture?
guy?
This guy? Looks like an Asian guy. Oh, you can't look at it because we're not Instagram logged in.
Yeah, you can if you open it in a new tab. Hot tip, chat. No, there's up at the top where she links like other things.
oh, he's a lot more uncanny valley than she is.
Is he fake though? She says Tokyo, Japan. Is she visiting?
I think this guy's fake as well. Plastic boy.
I don't know.
We're living in a weird reality. We'll never know. You won't be able to trust anybody, and think about the video implications eventually.
I look forward to horrors far darker and worse than Frankenstein's monster in the years to come. Between ad agencies and the Disney Corporation, it's going to be amazing.
But we knew to fear Frankenstein's monster because he was a monster. We won't know to fear these people.
Yeah. These people.
That's the terrifying part.
Not only will we embrace our new robot overlords, we'll contribute to their OnlyFans. All right, Krista, give me a M of the robot goodbye.
Goodbye. Hello. Today is November 6th, and we're doing social and nonsense, and hopefully everything is fine now that we know the results of...
Can it ever really be fine, though? I mean, I think anger, no matter what, anger is high right now.
The struggle has caused so many cities to burn.
You shouldn't say that because the possibility is so real.
Right now, we're recording this on a Friday, the Friday before. So
People might be watching this on the last 10% of their battery huddled around a burning trash can.
A barrel with fire in it.
Yeah, because it's cold and they don't have any homes anymore.
A barrel with fire in it is a high piece of technology.
And if that's true, we're sorry. Anyway, let's talk about some social media. And let's talk about Facebook. Hey, remember Cambridge Analytica? That seems like a lifetime ago, right? Well, it turns out, if you'll recall, Cambridge Analytica was a very bad thing. A very, very bad thing. And people were very upset. And then they gave them a fine, which wasn't a lot of money. So people are still upset about that.
Facebook sued over Cambridge Analytica data scandal. No, not that lawsuit. No, not the other lawsuit. Not the lawsuit from a year ago. This one's only 2 days old.
And they're basically saying that was a slap on the wrist, which is true. And that they should be punished harder, which probably true. And they're going to try to do it themselves. I don't like their chances.
Their chances are not good.
So Facebook, now that we're past the dark time, let's not forget that this whole cycle will repeat itself. We have a few short years of summertime before the winter comes again of political election season. And we will have all these same fights again, including the social media ad policy. So Facebook has said, hey, we're going to be a lot better about these political ads. And if they're at all controversial, we probably just won't even take them. We don't even need the money. So some people said, all right, we'll see if that's true. And Facebook was very angry about that.
Facebook tells academics to stop monitoring its political ads for any rule breaking on privacy grounds. So what happened here is this research program, which was part of a university project, New York University, asked for volunteers and said, hey, do you want to help monitor Facebook for compliance with their advertising rules? Install our browser extension, and when you're on Facebook, we will record the contents of the ad and what you're looking at, like what you're doing with your Facebook profile. Facebook said, no, this is against the terms of our service. You're not allowed to scrape data from Facebook. And when pressed to explain it, they said that you're scraping other people's data. And it's like, no, this is literally just the ads that this person sees. Like, Facebook doesn't understand how privacy works. Like, if you volunteer to give your information to a third party, that's okay. And as far as I know, Joe, random Facebook user, doesn't have access to Joe, other Facebook users' data, especially what ads some other person is seeing, which is what was being studied in this research thing. So you can imagine Facebook was losing its mind, almost deliberately trying to confuse the issue to anybody that would ask them, hey, why are you losing your mind over this?
What if Facebook admitted how bad things really are by making the argument? It's like, oh no, we track so much data that just by knowing what ads we show you could identify you as a human being.
Wow, that is a dark interpretation of what they were saying.
No, that's not what they're saying. But NYU has said, we don't care. Sue us. Come at us, bro. We're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I don't think that would work out for them in court.
No.
And speaking of Facebook doing really horrible things, many of you might be early adopters of the Oculus system. In fact, you might have adopted it before Facebook spread its tentacles into it. And we talked about this last week in terms of you have to get a Facebook account. But what if you say, okay, maybe I'll just get a Facebook account and do the initial setup, then I'll delete my account? No, you won't.
Deleting your Facebook account forfeits Oculus VR games that you've already paid for. So previously, it did not require a Facebook account. Now it does. I have altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it any further.
It just looks more evil now. Maybe it's because of what I know about it.
Good job, Facebook.
So yeah, enjoy that Facebook account.
Ugh.
Giving
This
them
is
money.
like almost as bad as when YouTube was like, oh, you have to put your real name on your account. And it was like, ew, no.
That'll stop terrible people from leaving terrible comments. Narrator, it didn't.
And in the world of gaming, Oculus is not the only front that Facebook intends to take its products into. They want to get into regular gaming as well. Well, when I say regular, I mean mobile, which is something that I don't understand. But the kids seem to love it.
Facebook steps into cloud gaming and another feud with Apple. So Facebook has said, our vision for mobile gaming is for people to browse a library, click a button, and immediately start playing, not that they have to download stuff. And Apple has said, look, you can either do games on the web or games that we individually vet and require a download like an app. Those are your options.
They also talked about like being able to click a mobile game ad and just immediately have it, not have to wait at all, which is a advertiser-driven darkness that we don't need.
And Apple was just like, nope, not happening.
Krista, are you still thinking about having children? Because this is the darkness that you're going to have to contend with.
I don't know. I was watching videos about like the expense of it, and in terms of just like nothing else, just giving birth, and it's so absurd in the U.S. that I don't know if we can afford it. It's insane.
Time to move to Europe for a few years.
Krista,
Yeah.
here's the reality. Think about it in these terms. I wish
Or Canada.
all parents should have this thought pounded into their head before they think about having a child. You were taking out an 18-year lease on a Ferrari. And actually, those numbers are probably higher now, right?
Yeah.
That was like 2010 numbers or something like that.
See, I like kids though. I know that you don't, and that's fine. But like,
And there's
I
no
do personally really enjoy children, but like, I just don't know feasibly how do people afford?
You know what, Krista? I would really like a Ferrari.
there's no guarantee that Ferrari is going to take care of you when you're elderly.
Absolutely. That's why I said lease. You don't own it. Facebook, they're catching a lot of flack, as are all the major tech companies, because they are either not censoring the right things or censoring too much of one thing. You're never going to make everybody happy, as we've seen with the comment section. Once again, I'll say thank you for the nice comments last week. It was very appreciated. But Facebook's always trying to figure out, how do we do this? What's the right way to vet things and find out what's good and what isn't? And they think they have the answer.
Facebook's new Oversight Board strives to be seen as independent. Now, if you heard me laughing as I said Facebook's new Oversight Board, that would be because literally everybody is laughing at that. But no, the Oversight Board is saying, okay, we realize this looks silly because Facebook funds us, but we really are independent. Let us show you all the ways. And so they're actually putting a lot of effort into trying to show how the review board is actually legit independent. But as you alluded to, the reality here is that no one is ever going to be happy.
You get a certain number of days that you're if something you say is blocked and you want to take that to arbitration with the board, you get a guaranteed, it goes before them in a certain number of days. I think they will be overwhelmed almost immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like the Supreme Court.
Well, even just think about like the complexities of like the Reuters article that we had last week or on Monday or Tuesday this week, where it was the whole Islamophobia thing, because Islamophobia is a very serious thing, and there's definitely a lot of Islamophobia, but the circumstances of that, not so much.
But is reporting someone cutting someone else's head off Islamophobia? Because that is a fact. Someone's head was removed, and guaranteed, no one is happy when you rule either way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some people are happy, but an equal number of people are unhappy. So, Good luck with that. You think that the board will get the same PTSD counselors as the censorship people who have to go through and look at like people killing animals and stuff?
No, that's a good point. But I think the board can't help but be dysfunctional, because at minimally the turnover is going to be so insane, because what person would subject themselves to that?
What if here? I can't even hardly vocalize this without, it's just so dark. We live in a future where political parties are working as hard to put somebody on the Facebook board as they are on the Supreme Court.
Wow, that is a dark future. That's probably where we're headed.
What's it? Is it Vanta Black, Krista? The blackest color?
Black, yeah. That is dark. And maybe, by the time that starts happening, the second series of pandemics have come along and people are starving in the streets and they're like, please, can you pass some relief? And it's like, no. We need to get on the Facebook board.
We already have every indication that, like, for something like a Facebook board to be successful, that it is going to eventually have to be regionally specific. Things that are acceptable in Japan are different than things that are acceptable in China, and don't even like Taiwan. And things get real dicey because it's like, okay, do we Taiwan like the Chinese connection, and do we talk about that? And
country picker when making an address form.
Is that a purposeful lead-in? Because it's very...
So Facebook touts free speech, but in Vietnam it's aiding in censorship because, again, the climate of Vietnam is very different. And so all of the tools that's like, yeah, we need independent review of all this stuff, it's leading to some really dark things in Vietnam.
So there was this guy who was a chemistry teacher, and he had the balls to speak out against some stuff that was going on with the Vietnamese government. And he was blocked from Facebook. And then later they came in to his house with stun grenades and abducted him. But he tried to speak out and say, hey, this government is, it's like they're just totalitarian and they're destroying me for speaking out. Facebook should be a place where I can speak my mind. And Facebook basically just said nothing.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we don't do that. Because Facebook knows, and by the way, in Vietnam, half the population is on Facebook, which is huge. It's a huge market.
Yeah.
What is it here?
Like, not even a third.
It's not that amount.
Really?
Because we have such a lot of people, I mean, not a lot of people, but some people don't even use the internet. Mm-hmm. And then you divide that more by the people. Yeah, it's not nearly as much. And so Facebook is this huge powerhouse in Vietnam, and you can spread word by stuff, which is why the government doesn't want people like this. And Facebook's just like,
Why Facebook must submit to governmental control in all of its forms.
But compare that with Apple in China. I mean, it's not unique.
Yeah. In fact, our government is eyeing what other countries have, and they're saying, we need that here, which is,
With the whole, like, backdoor encryption thing, that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
And it's sad. Well, Twitch, we learned that Twitch was doing some house cleaning, although it is the RIAA that is forcing their hand, because legally there's only so much they can do. And the purge pretty much went through. It's unfortunate, but now we see even worse situations where it's like, okay, copyright, but what if it's my copyright? What if this is my thing? Can't I use my own thing? And the copyright
The
companies,
RIAA was
they're
like, no.
No, I'm sorry. You don't understand ownership. We own this.
Twitch suspends Dragon Force guitarist for playing his own music.
Could they not have found a better picture?
I don't know. It's probably from one of his live streams. So we talked last week about how it's Twitch Mageddon, and the RIAA has come, and Twitch has basically been like, look, you got to delete your stuff, or it's going to be bad. Your channel's probably going to be banned, and it's sort of a worse situation than the YouTube because Twitch just didn't have the tools to respond correctly under the law. It seemed like the RIAA was trying to get Twitch into a position where they would be liable in court so they could be sued. So rather than take the chance, Twitch just deleted everything. And so, of course, the RIAA has issued takedowns for people like this individual who legit still have the copyright to their stuff that they created. The RIAA, I mean, in some cases, the RIAA might own the artist's stuff. In this case, they don't. But they issued takedowns anyway.
And he is actually, because he's such a proponent of freedom of this kind of thing, he has released several of their albums to be available for streaming on Twitch.
Which probably those people also got takedowns.
Probably, yes.
And his
First picture for him in this article as well.
all the pictures, but it seems like he just makes faces when he's. It is a very high speed, those guitar solos he does are insane. So people do tend to make funny faces. But
his account is suspended. And there will be no repercussions whatsoever for the RIAA because literally their thumb is on the scale of anything reasonable. Always has been.
There's one of those, you ever see the picture game where it's like, is this a cat or a croissant? When they're curled up. There's one where you have to try to guess if the guy in the picture is doing a guitar solo. Like they zoom in right on the face, and you have to guess if he's doing a guitar solo or having an orgasm. It's difficult. I think I understand this. Let me let's do the headline first. Let me see if you took the same thing from it as I did.
I tried to find the pictures.
Unfortunately.
There is a picture at the bottom of the article, looks like.
But it's not the one they're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, is it not? Okay.
Anyway.
Instagram row over plus size model forces change to nudity policy. So plus size model wanting to put those nudes on Instagram because apparently it's okay if you're thin.
But it's not. They're not nudes. So apparently on Instagram it's not okay to do the hand bra where you're just covering your boobs with your hands.
But you can do the artistic stuff.
But so that's not okay by the policy. But she did it. And it's not okay to block her for doing it. Because she's not doing a hand bra, she's loving her own body.
Oh, see, I misunderstood.
Maybe I misunderstood.
There's a lot of Instagram pictures where people are very obviously naked, but you can't really see a lot because the photographer's doing something with light and shadow. Like you can see the line on the back, or you can see knees, but you can't really see anything. They're not what I would call obscene pictures, and you can't see anything that's forbidden. And another version of this that I read made it sound like she had some pictures like that, but you can imagine that the lines were somewhat different than what you expect, and so they were flagged for nudity, no, go away.
But they pointed out the hand boob one in particular. Were the other ones that got away with it hand boobs?
There were some hand boobs in some of the other Instagram things.
You got some more information here, Krista?
I think I found the photo.
Do we want to show the photo?
I don't know. I don't think it's awful. Maybe a little not safe for work if you're watching at work, but
what do you think?
That's 17% hand boob. I don't think we should show that on YouTube though.
Oh, well, we just did.
Okay.
I get the editor to censor that.
Well, it's probably too late.
Maybe pixelate it. But so yeah, you can kind of see that's not quite a hand boob.
No.
I was definitely not agreeing with this, but now I'm not sure because that is certainly not a hand boob. So yeah, she is. It's like I'm just showing myself love because feminine power. But at the same time, do we want to make different rules for different people? Isn't giving her a different set of rules because she's fat?
Yeah, I don't think that's okay.
That's like the whole racism thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to fix it in the other direction, you're still being discriminatory.
There are definitely pictures on Instagram that are way more provocative than that one.
Oh, absolutely. Like the pictures of the girls where they're just wearing a thong and have their butt right in the camera. You know, overall, I'd say this is more artistic than lewd compared to some of the other pictures I've seen.
But we have to have another Supreme Court for Instagram to decide.
Maybe what we need to do is have the Facebook committee decide non-Facebook content and have, but I was going to say Instagram, but Instagram and Facebook, they're all the same. It's all the same committee.
And then you get back into that situation where, like, regionally,
yeah,
what's considered obscene and what isn't. The French would be fine with that.
Saudi Arabia would just be...
They would burn down your house.
Sorry, Saudi Arabia.
Well, Amazon is constantly moving into new markets, and they have decided to move into Sweden.
We've entered the nonsense section.
But it seems like... Well, that was nonsense. But I guess that was social media, wasn't it?
That would be social media, yeah.
It seems like they decided to save a little money with the translations by not hiring someone to do it and maybe doing it automated.
It was bad. 9 awkward translation fails on Amazon's new Swedish site. This feels like a clickbait article that we stepped right into, but these translations are just so funny that you have to be aware.
So this one was Sweet Face Dick. That's a shower curtain. Not bad.
I would like to see the hand knitted penises, please.
This is cuck. The word cuck, they put that is penis. So this was just penis. Oh yeah, hand knitted penis.
Right there. That's not what that is. That's bad machine translation.
This was die cast, but they used the word for death instead of, like die, as in machining die.
There's just so many.
Yeah.
You're going to have to click the one tab for all of them because, oh my gosh.
Kind of funny. Although, they got some press out of it, didn't they?
They did.
Who's not aware of Amazon Sweden now?
It was deliberate. It was masterminded by some ad agency. No.
I don't know what you call this number. 18 zeros. It's a lot. And now that we have our drones attacking asteroids, let's get started on this one.
NASA discovers a rare metal asteroid that's worth $10 quadrillion. I don't know.
I think it's more than quadrillion.
Quintillion?
It's a lot.
Maybe
It
quintillion.
might be more than that, right?
I was really excited because I was like, all right, is it like a giant neodymium asteroid? No, it's mostly nickel and iron. They think it was the core of whatever planet was in the asteroid belt or part of it. It's the size of West Virginia.
But so much nickel and iron. Now, in the grand scheme of, like, what size thrusters would we have to strap onto that bad boy and get it over here? It wouldn't have to be that much, right? I mean, because it's just going to keep getting faster.
The alien race that eventually wipes us out is probably just going to give it the slightest tink so that it, just... Because that would kill Earth. Like, that would be your kill vehicle for Earth.
It depends on how fast it's moving, but...
It could be moving very slow, and it would be a kill vehicle for Earth, because it's metal the size of West Virginia. Earth would die.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Imagine... Actually, that would probably be horrific if you were a miner on the West Virginia asteroid.
Sir, we just want clean water. You'll be thankful if you get any water at all.
Your quota's low. Turning your oxygen down. Lord Musk has commanded it. We love animal stories, and it's this is a sad one, but it's nice to see the respect given where it is very much deserved.
Cathedral hosts memorial service after enormously popular resident stray cat dies. So this is a cathedral that where was this? London somewhere?
Yeah.
They had a stray cat. It died.
Dorkins Magnificat.
Aw.
Oh, what an amazing cat name.
So they point out that Dorkins was well known around the cathedral. He would often walk around on the stage while they were doing the mass, and sometimes he would just be relaxing in the pews when people came for the service. And hilariously, he would sleep in the manger when they did the nativity scene. He has died.
Aged 50.
You're gonna say something, Krista?
What are you gonna do when your cats die? How are you gonna lay them to rest?
Yeah, I've got a tree out in my yard. I'll probably just dig a hole and put them out there.
Bury them under it.
Yeah.
I'll have to bury Mom's cat at my house.
Yeah. There's plenty of room for cat burying on my property. Maybe
Someone just isolate that sound clip.
Maybe I could get them cremated and have, like made into something.
Ready to do a cat toy for the next few cats.
I don't know if I'm doing this. I don't know if I'm going around this rodeo again.
You get adult cats next time instead of kittens.
But that just shortens the amount of time you have with them.
Yeah, but then you don't have like the annoying like baby phase. Like I don't know that I'll get another puppy now that I've had Rue. Because Rue as a puppy was a handful.
But they are so adorable as kittens.
They are cute.
And we talked about Cyberpunk last episode. It is very depressing. I think I'm worried though that this is going to be another No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Because it really has to live up to a lot.
Yeah.
The hype is such a bad idea in most cases.
I feel like they could have just written new content with the GTA 5 engine, and like people would have been happy.
Yeah, I don't think so. Plus, that's the wrong company.
Yeah.
Anyway, another drawback to the hype train being so out of control, it's moving at light speed at this point, is that when you disappoint people, they react really negatively.
CD Projekt Red developers are getting death threats after Cyberpunk 2077 delay. This is, of course, in the nonsense section because who is that invested in a game? Come on. There's so many other more interesting things to worry about than the next, AAA blockbuster.
I know where you live, bro. Release the game or you're finished. But while you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Where it should have been the possessive.
That's the death penalty right there.
Release Cyberpunk or you and your family will be persecuted. Well, at least he didn't say killed. He just said persecuted. And I will burn you alive if you don't release the game. I don't believe it.
I don't get it. I don't understand. Also, like, why would you direct it at the developers and not like the marketing company? That doesn't make any sense on any
I think it's because the developers are, kind of like interfacing with the community on Twitter. And that,
Wonder if your second thoughts about that now.
Have you guys watched the Borat movie yet? It's on Amazon now.
No, I've been meaning to, but I haven't.
Yeah, I want to check it out, but I have not. Kazakhstan, if you remember the first Borat movie, Kazakhstan was a little upset about it because it doesn't portray them in the best light. But now they seem to have learned how to properly react to it. I think this is brilliant.
Very nice. Kazakhstan adopts Borat's catchphrase in new tourism campaign. So there's 4 ads, 14 seconds each, that leverage the very nice thing. And they say that, it's very nice, and it's not as anti-Semitic or misogynistic as portrayed by Sacha Baron Cohen. Which seems legit.
He does get away with a lot. Himself being Jewish is how he gets away with that. But it's funny. I laugh at it. Now, this was not the Kazakhstan people that came up with this. It was some foreign kids who had an idea, and they contacted their Bureau of Tourism, and the same day got approval. They're like, yes, that's brilliant. Do it. I bet that you could. I don't know what kind of attractions they have, but I bet the dollar will stretch a long way.
For somebody like Krista who enjoys the outside, there's a ton of stuff you can do, and it's super cheap.
Yeah, it looks like there's lots of like mountaineering and hiking kind of stuff, which would be great.
What a great story that would be if you do decide to have kids. It's like, we moved to another country because things were so messed up back home, and then it's like, when they get of age, like you come back, and it's like, okay, this is...
But then it's somehow worse, I still can't get insurance.
They would be the weird kids when you brought them back.
Yeah.
I guess that's not the worst thing, but...
I think, let's be honest, like, my husband too, like, those kids are probably going to be a little bit weird.
No, Krista, I've told you this 100 times. It's the opposite. So those kids are going to be like sports stars.
Hyper-normie.
You're going to spend your entire time going to like, every weekend's going to be going to all these different sporting events and, training camps. Or if it's a girl, she'll be like a cheerleader or a beauty contest girl or something like that. It'll be the opposite, and you'll hate it. You'll hate every minute of it.
Maybe.
You'll be there on your Stadia as you go to like watching whatever game it is because you don't care.
I'm playing Overwatch 5. Soccer game.
Well, if you are a public figure, you have to really keep in mind what kind of photo ops you pose for. And this one, I feel like, should have been obvious.
I don't know. It's 2020. City attorney. Photo of San Antonio Fire Department chief eating sushi off nude woman is a serious issue and under review. Is it really, though? Is it a serious issue?
I think we can get away with this. It's a little not safe for work, but she's not showing anything. So,
I mean, just...
She looks so uncomfortable. Like...
there was an industry dinner in Taiwan the first time that I went there, and it was like invite only, but it was next to a thing that I was going to, and I went in there by mistake, and I was like, oh, this is a little weird. This is kind of like an eyes wide shut party kind of thing, and they were like, oh, no, you're not supposed to be in here. And I was like, oh, okay, and then I figured out where I was supposed to be, but that was like that's a thing. But this is 2020. I mean, is this really... Like, there's nothing illegal happening there. It's not...
Would you feel comfortable, though, like, if it was a naked dude you're eating sushi off of?
Yeah, I mean, if that's what that guy wanted to do in his own time, he said it was somebody's 50th birthday party and it was there.
It's okay. Now, I'm not comfortable eating off of anybody.
Yeah, no, it's not something that I would do. And it's something that I would definitely comment on. But in terms of, like, does it rise to the level of having to waste the taxpayers' money, having the city attorney investigate it? No, that's dumb.
Now here is the burning question, and the article doesn't answer it. Maybe someone in the audience has experience with this. What is that girl making an hour?
Probably a lot.
Almost nothing.
You think so, Krista?
Yeah, well, tons of pretty girls who have no money, so there's no reason to pay them well.
The only reason I know is because I mentioned it in Taiwan, and they were like, "Oh no, those people make like $80 an hour." I was like, "Wow, okay."
Maybe that's true in Taiwan, but I'd be willing to bet it's not nearly as good here. It's true of most jobs.
Could it be one of those situations? Remember when they got rid of the booth girls and the race car girls? Yeah. And the girls were like, we really enjoyed that money.
If it was like the Hooters girls, I would be much more reluctant to eat the sushi as opposed to the girls that were like much more expensive.
So it's just a matter of cost. It's not.
I think there's something that's implied with the costs part of the equation there, but maybe not. Maybe that's not really true.
I don't think you're talking about like prostitution. I don't think so. Not in this case.
I guess maybe I don't know. I don't understand the appeal. Like
it is.
Is like hair, dirt, germs.
Yeah. Well, they mentioned that this is a cultural thing, obviously in Japan. But it has fallen out of favor because of the hygiene and,
it's
women issues.
Somewhat misogynistic, yeah. We're investigating this man for poor taste.
Although, are Japanese women not known for having very little body hair? Maybe they're, specifically designed for this kind of thing.
Well, nature. Too, though, like, can you work at your job doing this if you're menstruating?
Wow. Brings up, again, menstruating or not, the human body is not to be used as a dish.
No.
Yeah.
We are disgusting creatures.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what?
Is there a tampon string under that plate of sushi?
Wow.
We'll never know.
It's like I shouldn't even say that. I'm thinking, I won't actually flesh it all the way out, but Lady and the Tramp.
Seen that.
And again, none of this rises to the level of something. It's like, it's done in port. Like the city attorney should have been like, the taste here is questionable, but there's nothing that's illegal.
He's a fire chief. Like he doesn't have. I mean, can he put out fires? That's the only thing I care about.
That man can eat sushi and put out fires.
Yeah. But I guess the world we live in, that's not the case. Now, Krista does bring up an interesting point. It would not bother me particularly if he was eating off of a man, but I'm sure there's a lot of the American population.
But again, it's just like, what does this? I mean, who cares? It's 2020.
Again, if he puts out the fire, I don't care if he just jumps out of the building and starts making out with a guy. Put out the fires.
With this birthday party, was this taxpayer funded? Like
no. They pointed out it was somebody else. He didn't pay for this. It was somebody else was having a retirement party that he went to.
Yeah. And that person was probably just like, I want the works. And the account planner was like, I know just the thing. And everybody was like, this is kind of weird.
Maybe points out that they're paying their firemen a little too high of a pension if you can afford live sushi girl.
That's what the attorney's investigating. It's not that it's actually wrong. He's just pissed off that they spent that much money in a frivolous way.
Well, Krista, if that makes you a little bit angry, how about a little bit of girl power? Because one of our female astronauts accomplished something amazing on the space station.
Astronauts use toothbrush to fix space station.
This article's worthless because it doesn't say exactly what they did.
I wanted pictures, yeah. Apparently they modified a toothbrush in some way to make it... So they had actually failed the previous spacewalk. They were trying to install some parts. They failed because they couldn't get a bolt out or something, and then somehow they used a toothbrush to accomplish it.
I wonder if it was an electric toothbrush and they used it to like vibrate it loose. Because I've got a DeWalt reciprocating saw that just vibrates and it does so much.
Are we really burning? I guess energy isn't a big problem on the space station because they got the solar, right?
Yeah.
You think they have electric toothbrushes up there?
I don't know. It's the only thing I can think
What
of.
if like you lost control of it and it just
It's just gone
marauded through the space station?
No, the first time I used one of those DeWalt like reciprocating things with the vibration, it did so much work so quickly that I started to believe in Doctor Who's sonic screwdriver. It's like, this could actually work.
Oh yeah, yeah, like the impact drivers.
Yeah,
they're impressive. Yeah. So this was Sunita Williams and Akihiko Hoshida, and yeah, pretty cool. Also, one of the other space station participants was quoted as saying, "Where the hell's my toothbrush?"
Listen, we're gonna have to share a toothbrush for the next couple of
Surely they
days.
carry extra.
Yeah, I made that part up. So yeah, good job. A 6-hour spacewalk. You're peeing in your suit.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's built specifically to handle that. Even Elon Musk's cheap, Big Lots knockoff spacesuits are built for that.
Can you imagine, like, you come in after your 6-hour spacewalk and you're removing your space diaper and like wiping yourself down to get the urine off, and you're like, I'm one of the most educated people in the country.
And yet you still have to deal with feces.
This is the life I chose.
It's the great equalizer, bodily functions.
I think, now this is apparently a problem in a lot of places, but I think the answer here is obvious because I know 2 little cats who would love a big can of crayfish every day.
Escaped cloned mutant female crayfish take over Belgian cemetery. There's nothing more useful here. It's just words.
Well, we do need to point out, here they are. These are, I can't remember what the word they use is, but they breed with themselves. They're automatic breeders, and they only breed females. So
They reproduce asexually.
well, there's another word for it that they had here. But when you get one of these in a place, they're also apparently pretty good at like out competing the other ones for food. They're like an invasive type. And they were never supposed to exist. These are man-made creation. So we made this horrible thing that reproduces non-stop, and it escaped into the wild, and now we have a never-ending supply of them in a graveyard.
In the next year.
Yeah.
Fine source.
That's the food supply for 2021.
Yeah, they pointed out that in one place, I can't remember where it was, they are a problem, but they are so... Madagascar. They're considered a very cheap form of protein, so they kind of like, they wanted them. But they do kill out all the other crayfish because they're so powerful. Again, my cats would love them.
Yeah.
This is one of the darker stories we've done. And, sometimes I question, it's like, is that too depressing to put in the news? But I think it's important that we point out.
Yes, but
I think it's important that we know just how awful this world can be.
I couldn't even use the lack of technology as an excuse to cut it.
It's awful.
UK man jailed for having sex with chickens in front of wife allowed to keep pets. So his wife filmed it, so she was in on it. And a lot of bad things happened to that guy, and the judge was like, I'm going to take your chickens. And under the law, he can't. He was not allowed to take his chickens.
There's the face of a monster.
Yeah, it's very bad.
So he will have to do some time, but he gets to keep the chickens.
This is one time where I can get behind the the NSA surveillance apparatus, it was like, we caught this guy because it was uploaded to the internet.
Why, Krista? Because animal cruelty was not something they charged him with.
That's bizarre.
And you can't...
Oh, you continue.
You can't take away someone's... So it's actually much darker than it is on the face value, because when they searched the home, they found child pornography as well.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Here in Kentucky, we actually only like a year or two ago passed laws that like you couldn't sexually abuse animals. So that's a thing.
It is illegal where he is, so... How do you not know that that's wrong anyway? I mean, I can't imagine that. And he has a wife! So it's not about...
Who was in on it?
It's not about the sexual release. It's something else.
Who was in on it?
This one, Krista, I imagine you have some strong feelings about this one. It is... so let's say, it's a tale as old as time. Boy meets girl. They fall in love. But they can't be together because he has an existing wife. And he doesn't make enough money. So what happens? Well, this bank wants to solve that terrible problem.
Anger as Iraqi bank offers second wife loans to male employees.
So,
and I'm willing to bet that they do not have any sort of maternity leave, but they have this program.
I don't even know if they let women work.
Listen, you work for a prestigious First Bank of Iraqi National Iraqi. You can, you need the prestigious benefits of that. Here, take out a second wife loan.
So second wife actually doesn't cost too much over there. $8,000 for the second wife loan. Now, the rule in a lot of these places is you can have as many wives as you want, but you must support them. Like, they don't work. They don't do anything. They're just your wife. You have to give them a place to live. You have to, feed them enough. And so if you want to take that second one, maybe you don't have all the cash on hand. Of course, you use credit. You think they'll repossess the wife?
No, that wife just gets to live in squalor.
It could get really dark because could start organ harvesting. I'm sure you could get $8,000 for a kidney.
That is much darker. You're right. You took it to a much darker place.
Yeah, the wife whose husband couldn't afford her in the first place, she doesn't get her freedom back.
She's the one that's punished for taking out the loan.
Yeah,
she still stays as the second wife, but now she has children who she can't support because she's not allowed to work. But her husband also can't support her or her children. It's just a great program all the way around.
Pretty sure any interstellar travelers visiting will just go ahead and sterilize the planet.
Now, think about the fact that there's probably also third wife situations.
You're severely in debt. I need that third wife.
I'm going to get the third wife and use her kidneys to pay off the other two.
Well, if the mutant crayfish don't get you, don't think that you're out of the woods. Because here is remember from before the dark times, we were worried about such trivial things as murder hornets.
First murder hornet nest in the U.S. is found in Washington State. It's actually pretty brilliant. They found some murder hornets, and they tagged them with the radio tags. They tried dental floss and glue and some other things, and they would always chew them off or break them off or whatever, but they managed to get some radio trackers all the way back to the nest, and the murder hornets that were tagged happened to be from the same nest. So they found the nest, and they got rid of the nest, and that worked really well.
It's in a tree. So yeah, they destroyed it, or they were scheduled to destroy it.
They had special suits that were made out of foam.
Yeah, because I guess they can sting right through normal beekeeping suits.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, if things weren't bad enough, the murder hornets are back, and now they live here.
I'm just happy that we have radio tags small enough to fit on murder hornets. Or, conversely, murder hornets are so large they have no problem carrying around a radio transmitter.
They are some monsters.
This is just the writers trying to, bring back some nostalgia before the finale. They're like, do you remember that scene
I see,
where
yeah.
we murder hornets?
Unlike Game of Thrones, they're trying to pick up all those loose threads that they left throughout the...
I don't understand. Why does this dragon glass sword matter? I don't understand.
Remember that was the worst thing that happened in 2019 until, everything else.
Well, if you're in Australia and you love the hentai, times are going to start to get really rough for you because the government, it's a weird thing to focus on, don't you think?
I think that this can only mean the thing that it means here in the U.S. when there's something like this. When you have a politician that's hyper-focused on something like this, it means they have a fetish. So somebody in Australia really has an addiction to this stuff.
And they just can't stop themselves.
Yeah.
And their wife is like, listen, one more time and I'm going public. And he's like, oh, God, so how can I stop myself? It's like when you're like the werewolf who chains himself during the full moon.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Australia bans import of hentai and other adult anime products from Japan. What an amazing thumbnail.
Yeah.
Some strange images in this article.
Yeah, so Australia, it's come to an end.
That girl is going to have some back problems. So there's one, what was the name of this? Oh, that's lovely. There's one program in particular, No Game, No Life. They keep referring back to. What could that be that's so bad?
I'm sure that people are going to email you exactly what that is.
You're gonna tell us.
So, J-List is a company that sells Japanese products internationally, and I guess they have an adult section. And they're the ones who this was not really announced, but all of a sudden J-List was like, every package we send to Australia is coming back. They won't take them. So it turns out anything slightly risque that has to do with Japan. I mean, that seems racist, right? Like as a government policy. Anyways, getting kicked back, and so they confirmed.
It's Japanese mind control that I'm having some sort of biological reaction to this obvious, trash. It's their fault.
It's probably a really religious guy. And he's like, I can't be this turned on by tentacle demons.
That's exactly what it is.
Someone must do something.
Yeah, that's predicting the 2021 scandal. Chat, you heard it here first. What, Krista?
This channel's so first it was the sushi eating story, and now it's this one, and we've gone.
Oh, we're off the rails.
Japanese culture just wreaking havoc among the globe.
Australia's killing off any chance of waifus. No.
Yeah, if you're a weeb in Australia,
It's
gonna be rough. Although, how many people do you think consume hentai on DVD? Wouldn't you stream that?
Yeah. Well, that also makes it illegal that way as well. So it may be that if you've got an Australian credit card, you can't get that.
Got to get that VPN.
I noticed the law also lumped it in with like child porn, and it's like, I mean, that's a stretch.
Hentai gets weird, but it's a far cry from child crimes. And finally, a nice little bit of fun. And it's fun that a homeowners association tried to spoil, but I think their own bureaucracy kind of got in their way, so it doesn't matter. So it's a happy tale after all.
Who's reading that? Is it me? Pole dancing skeletons deemed inappropriate for Texas neighborhood. This is hilarious.
It's a little bit of a moot point, though, because the homeowners association says she had until the middle of November to take them down. But who said that the pole dancing skeletons are naked?
I thought they had more pictures. I guess it's
they
just
have a video of it.
The sound.
It's like most kids aren't going to recognize what that is. They're just going to see the skeletons hanging out and not register it.
They're going to ask questions though.
Skeletons are dancing.
Yeah, so they're
It's great.
It's fine. This is fine.
That was doing like a little cheer dance.
This is fine.
Yeah, so they've banned it, but like you say, doesn't matter because she only wanted it till the end of October. So all the little trick-or-treaters who actually won't be trick-or-treating, right? Have they officially canceled it here?
Yes, I think so.
I think you can do a thing where like you come and pick up candy somewhere. Like that's a thing as a substitute. Like
It's not even the thing anymore.
Yeah.
So just let us shovel sugar into your children's mouths.
I think you underestimate how poor some children are, and it's like I get all this candy, and it's like now we're not going to do that, and so like the churches and stuff are like just show up, and the trunks of these cars have candy, and you just walk around to all the trunks of the cars and get candy.
But aren't you touching the piles of candy? That's bad.
I'm pretty sure that you're not supposed to be doing that. That's something they do every year is trunk or treat.
Okay.
But I don't know if they're supposed to do it this year or not.
Maybe they've just pre-trunked it, and you just have the bag. Like one person has taken I don't know.
we're red zone right now.
Yeah, it's bad.
Oh yeah. Well, not us, right? That's the neighboring.
I think we're about to hit it. I don't know that we have yet, but
What does that mean?
The transmission rate is above.
But I mean, does
one.
it change how we're supposed to lock down?
Yeah, it means that you're supposed to, like, non-essential anything, mask all the time.
Look,
should have been doing it anyway.
I'm just going grocery shopping at this point, so I'm fine.
Same.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing too. So
I don't mask on the street though. I mean, really, it's just walking from my car to this building. But a woman gave me a dirty look today.
Yeah, I don't. If you're outside, at least from everything, like free flowing air is better. Anyway,
I've gone to the hardware store a total of like maybe 6 times in the last 2 or 3 months.
I went to Lowe's a couple times, yeah.
And the number of non-maskers makes me weep for humanity.
It does seem like the ham and eggers are more non-mask than. I saw a guy at Meijer last week, and he had no mask. It was around his neck, and he walked in, and I was behind him, and he went and he started to get a cart. But he was like, "No, I don't want this cart." He went over and got one of the disinfected carts, but no mask.
There's no mask. That doesn't make any sense.
People just don't think it's airborne, I guess. Speaking of holidays, so we talked about Halloween. Next is Thanksgiving. That'll be the next.
What do you want to talk? Oh, the fact that whether or not we go to Thanksgiving.
Thanks, it's not worse.
All right. Well, hopefully, we'll be back next week, and I imagine we'll have a lot to talk about.
Woo!
Krista, give us the final goodbye before November.
Final goodbye. Well, it is November from the point of view of the viewers, but
it is, yeah.
Friday's not November.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, almost all of next week is November because the 31st is this weekend.
Oh, right. Yeah, my dates are just scrambled right now.
It's because it's like March 230th.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, just give us the election results are probably tonight. Goodbye.
I don't have enough alcohol for this. Bye.